Welcome. It's nice to have you here. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
You're listening to the Jam Session Podcast.
I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume.
With Cowboys insider...
What's your name?
Jean-Jacques Taylor.
That's my name.
Radio personality and craft beer expert, Matt McLaren.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing.
And now, the Jam Session Podcast.
It is indeed Jam Session. Subscribe, rate, and review, and hang out with us for a while. Right here on Jam Session. The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, the radio, TV, and now podcast star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor.
What up, dog?
It's me, the non-sexy one. It's Matt McLaren. And this, of course, is Jam Session, the podcast, version 13, asking simply that you prepare to be dazzled.
If not entertained.
And we are hanging out this afternoon, as we do usually on Thursdays, and that is live at a local craft brewery. One of the ones that I'm a big fan of, we are at Hop and Sting, which is in Grapevine, really in downtown Grapevine, right off the square. These guys have been doing some good things. If you listen to our radio show when we did Just the Sip, we sampled several of their beers live on the air many times. We're going to sit down with one of the owners, the brewers, who has a phenomenal story.
For real. Like, for real.
Where he came from, his life. Brian Burton's going to sit down with us, so he'll jump on with us here shortly. But as we get rolling here, we need to remind you to please support our sponsors. Now, one of our sponsors who does great stuff, and this is a world in which I know nothing about, and, you know, she does, which is good.
Which is why she's here.
But Edward Jones financial advisor Lauren Laddick. Don't let the concerns about today's events derail your long-term financial strategy. Lauren can help you. She'll work with you to understand the impact of these events and how to be positioned for the long term. Edward Jones provides the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. I wish I knew how to invest. And some of you may be listening to this going, I don't know anything about this. Neither do I. This is where Lauren comes in. You're trying to figure out stocks and bonds. You're trying to plan for retirement. Maybe you have questions about 401k rollovers. This is her thing. So call Lauren today. She's a big fan of what we do, a big supporter of Jam Session. Give her a call, 972-563-1417. That's 972-563-1417. Edward Jones, it's Lauren Laddick, member SIPC. But as we start off here this afternoon, some news has come down in the last couple of days that I don't think either one of us was surprised about, Jacques, because we talked about this last week. What do you do?
Well, we talked about it in a sense of, I remember talking about it on the show, talking about, you know, Dontari Poe played like 26 snaps.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything, like didn't show up on the sheet. You know, same thing with Tyron Crawford. Didn't show up on the sheet.
Right. And
so let's keep it real, man. It's the only way I really know how to roll. If you're talking about the Cowboys, you're talking about 2-5. Let's keep it as real as we can keep it. Right now, today, they're really probably, they're either the 31st team or the 30th team. I'm being serious.
No, I think that's fair.
Either you think the Jets are worse.
I think the Jets are worse. I don't know that there's another team worse.
And Jacksonville. To me, those are the only teams in the conversation. Right now, the way they're playing.
Okay, fair.
And you can either say Jacksonville is 31 and Dallas is 30, or you can say Dallas is 31 and Jacksonville is 30. I don't really think it matters all that much.
I don't either.
But given that they're here where they didn't expect to be, remember I told y'all on Whispers a week ago, I told y'all that there was some talk about maybe they should just plan for the future. Mm-hmm. Maybe they should just write this year off. Maybe they should just take a look at who can play and move on. I told y'all that. That's why you need to listen to Whispers every Friday. That news you can't see here, we get anyway.
Which, if I'm correct in assuming it's about to be Friday, which means we must be having a Whispers from the Star coming up on this episode.
You damn right.
Swing.
So, and the other thing about that is, man, you know, if you're going to make a move, it makes sense to get rid of veteran players who ain't giving you nothing.
which they started this week. And we had talked, I said on Monday, when we did the show on Monday after the loss on Sunday, I said, you know what, at this point, I would cut Dontari Poe. And you said, well, we're making him inactive. I was like, whatever, but I'm done with him. And sure enough, so what we know as we sit here right now is that they traded Everson Griffin to Detroit for a conditional draft pick.
6th-round pick.
6th-round pick. So is that great? Who knows? What does it turn into? It's better than nothing. And
That's basically what it is.
And then they cut Dontari Poe and Daryl Worley off the squad.
And Daryl Worley was awful, man.
Dude.
I mean, he was awful.
I encourage you
go ahead.
to go watch the All-22 from his last couple of games.
It's just awful, man.
How that guy is in the league is amazing.
Now, don't forget, he started like 15 games last year.
See, and this is where the whole thing, and you can listen to our previous podcast, and I broke down Mike Nolan for you, but some sort of disconnect, because this is a dude who with the Raiders last year started regularly and was not trash. Then he comes to the Cowboys, and I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, go watch the All-22, and then you tell me what your eyes see.
Right, and so the fact that they made those moves, like, depending on your interpretation of it, it's Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys sending a message to the players that, hey, the coaching staff is here to stay. Y'all better get with the program or you too will find yourself cut. I mean, that's one way to look at it. The other way is just that, hey, those guys stunk. The season is going nowhere. Let's take a look at the young guys, whether it's Dorrance Armstrong at, linebacker or defensive end, whatever we're calling them, whether it's Bradley and Nye at that position.
Gallimore.
Gallimore, the defensive tackle, the 3rd-round pick.
Some dude off the street to play cornerback. Who cares?
Cheeto's coming back this week, I think.
Right, supposedly.
It's all about that. Let's look at those guys and see where they fit into the future, because the reality is this season is done.
It is done, and that's why I was glad to see these moves. I think it's important to figure out, because if you believe Jerry and Steven, Mike McCarthy is their guy. They do believe they got this hire correct. I don't think Mike McCarthy had any idea that it was going to be like this. Is there some sort of my God, either the roster's really bad or the coaching that was here before did not coach these guys up and we've got a serious problem? I don't know what the answer is.
I think I really, 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 really think you have to go back to the beginning and dissect it. And if you look at it, man, yeah, the injuries have played a role, no doubt about it.
Sure.
But if you really take an honest, real assessment, why are they 2-15? I mean, 2-5.
I was going to say,
perhaps
calm down.
That was a Freudian slip. If you take a real, honest look at it, you really have to say it's because as a team, they suck. Meaning, the offense was supposed to lead the way, get leads, allow the defense to rush the passer, and that was supposed to equal. It's like this. Explosive offense plus pass rushing defense equals 10, 11 wins and a trip to the playoffs.
Wrong.
But if we're taking an honest assessment of it, you have to admit that the offense let it down, man. With all those turnovers they had early in games, they never really, again, if you're being honest, they never gave the defense a chance to play with the lead, because we knew. We spent all offseason telling you this defense is trash. So why we act like we all surprised when we spent the offseason telling you the secondary sucks? They relying on a bunch of guys. I mean, we did a whole segment one time, dog. And we went through every guy they added on defense and said, every one of these guys got a question mark. Every one of them got a question mark. And you're hoping that like half of them hit and half of them miss. Their problem is they all missed.
Every single one
Alden
of them.
Smith. And I'm just saying this. I'm not picking on nobody. I'm not taking shots at nobody. When last time Alden Smith had a sack? I
Week
think it was
one?
Seattle.
Okay. I was going to say, I was trying to remember.
So
it's been a while.
I'm just saying, it's been a minute.
Hey, Tank had one the other day. That was nice.
Hey, man, I'm just saying.
It's interesting because you look at this and you look at the free agent class that they brought in. Gerald McCoy obviously never panned out because he tore up
quadricep and he was hurt.
Right, his quad, so he was cut before the season even began. Everson Griffin was the other one. We had all beat the drum for it. John Owning, who we had on the show many times, our NFL film analyst from the Dallas Morning News, was a big Everson Griffin fan on film. That dude comes in here and is invisible. You have Don Terry Poe, another guy. He's supposed to be that meaty, that beefy dude that all of us wanted in the middle for years.
Right.
He was supposed to be that. He showed so much. He's so meaty. He showed up overweight.
Well, he's just a fat guy.
And so now he's a dude that needs to call soda immediately.
Wow.
He is, because he is worthless and did nothing, and he gets cut. And then Daryl Worley, as we mentioned, is horrible. Clinton Dix, who they brought in. And many of you, I'll never forget, many of you, and this is what always blows my mind on Twitter. Ooh, man, is this the best? I was like, go look at his history. I get it. I've watched every single snap of Alabama football for the last 8 years.
Right.
I'm familiar with Clinton Dix. I get it. This is not college football. And comes here, and he was on his 4th team in 3 years, and he looked at us and he went, this dude's got nothing.
See, I looked at it as, I looked at him from the start as, this is 4 teams, 3 years. Let me see what he got. Because I'm suspicious of anybody on their 4th team in their 3rd year.
Right, because how come none of those teams are like, oh man, like we got to figure out a way to keep you.
That's why I was giving your boy Don Terry Poe a little bit of the side eye, like, okay, this is 3rd or 4th team in 5 years.
And
what's the deal? Just what's the deal, man? Because that ain't right.
It's a colossal failure across the board, from the front office to coaching, with the group of free agents that they chose to pursue this year. And there's no other way that you can put it. The free agent class that they brought in, they weren't trying to sign a game changer. They weren't going out and getting some dude that was supposed to all of a sudden change everything for you. But you signed guys that were supposed to fill holes and at least be average or better than what you had previously. And across the board in those instances, they failed.
Miserably, man. And that's part of the reason why, as we speak today, this defense remains on pace to be the worst in franchise history. And you can look at it a lot of different ways that it's going to be the worst in franchise history.
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the solution is. I'm glad that they made the moves they've made this week, because it is time to realize, and I've said this many times, I would never want to be the fan of a team whose players are actively trying to lose. But I like when a front office recognizes it's not going to happen for us. Let's make moves. If the young guys perform, then great. But chances are the young guys are going to struggle a little bit, and they've got a learning curve here. And so this, to me, is almost like a symbolic throwing in of a towel, especially when Andy Dalton's done. Andy Dalton's not going to play this week. It'll be Ben DiNucci as your quarterback.
Well, that's why, that's why I don't have a lot of hope for them for the next couple of games.
Yeah, it's the Eagles in Pittsburgh. And I am hoping, and I can't believe I'm hoping this, but I've reached that point. I want them to be 2-7 going into the bye.
You know what, Doug? I'm not. I haven't even gotten caught up in that. I really haven't. It's just like, it's whatever.
Well, you're not a fan.
Well, you are true about that. I'm an objective observer.
And that's the thing. I think as a fan, and I think many fans that feel the way that I feel, reality of it is, I want them. I have all these. Dude, I can't believe you said they might win a game. They're going to go 2-14. It's like, I hope they do go 2-14. I'd love to see the debate if they end up with the 1st or 2nd pick of, do we draft a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields? Do we make a trade? Do we try to tag Dak again? And I'd love to see that conversation.
Well, I think a few more weeks you may get an opportunity to have that conversation. One of my best friends was trying to get involved in that conversation last night. And at one point I said, Dog, it's too early for that, man.
Not for fans.
Well, yeah. It was just,
and that's the thing. Like, for fans, this is exactly what it is,
man. Because there's
because you're not going to the playoffs, and if you do, it's pointless. And you realize that, and you understand that, and so now the case is. And I've always thought this. I don't give a shit about finishing. Oh, hey, kick ass! You finished 9-7 and just missed the playoffs.
Right.
No. To me, I would rather finish 2-14, get the highest pick you can get. Go either get. If you're not going to tag Dak again, go get a quarterback you think is the future, or go get whoever you deem is the best defensive player in this draft. Go get that guy.
Now, we're going to get into it later because it's a really interesting conversation if you have a real conversation about it. This team right here, man, they failed in free agency. I don't think they thought it would be anything like this. They thought it'd be a lot better than this. But as we pointed out, man, just because you sign a bunch of guys and you think they have a shot to play, it doesn't mean that they're, they could have hit on all of them, which would have been a shock, or they could have missed on all of them, which is damn near what happened. Instead, Aldon Smith is the only guy worth a flip left. I'm not caught up in Randy Gregory, man. I think he's a good dude. I'm serious. I mean, Randy Gregory is a really good person, for real. Like, I like talking to Randy Gregory.
That's awesome.
But as a football player, man, I'm not getting caught up in Randy Gregory hype.
Man, you know what? This is really good people are cool to hang out with. But if we're going to war together, I don't give a crap if you're a good dude or not. I want you to be able to throw a battle axe and kill another guy.
You have it.
Seriously, that's what it comes down to me. And I'm surprised that across the board, this free agent class, other than, as you point out, Aldon Smith is a failure. I'm surprised. I really am, because this is a team that, generally speaking, does very well at identifying guys of that nature and pulling in guys, and they come here and perform, and they didn't this year. And we are seeing just how drastic missing in your draft at various positions the last couple of years. When you try to replace those with free agents, when you don't hit, you've got a colossal problem. Welcome to the 2020 Dallas Cowboys.
Bro, well said.
So once again, I will take this time to tell you about the wings at Kroger, man, because I've gotten all kinds of feedback from you guys, and you're like, man, you weren't kidding around. These wings at Kroger are insane. I am telling you. You are listening to this probably on a Friday, maybe another day, but we're recording it on a Thursday, October 29th. It's Halloween weekend coming up. Some of you are going to have gatherings. You're going to have parties. Swing by Kroger and get the wings. Mango habanero, buffalo blue cheese. I'm telling you right now, these flavors are fantastic. Delicious wings. There's no breading. It's just the meat. It's just the flavor. That's all it's about. And it's easy to get. You can order a couple of pounds at your Kroger all across North Texas today. So do yourself a favor and grab those. Throw them on the grill this weekend, and you're going to love them. You buy the wings at the meat counter, where you go up, you order your steaks there or whatever. You go to that place, you tell the dude, hey, I want those wings in the window. Give me a couple of pounds of the mango habanero or the buffalo blue cheese, and make your weekend that much better. But as we continue with you here, Jean-Jacques Taylor, Matt McLaren, this Dak question that keeps coming up is there is a chance, and I'm starting to think a damn good chance, that the Dak question is going to get very, very interesting as the season goes by.
Well, I think that's because, I always tell y'all, on the real, man, sports is fluid. What's true today might not be true a week from now, a day from now, a month from now, a year from now. And I started this when I was covering the Cowboys as a beat guy for the Dallas Morning News, because early on in my career, I'd call an agent at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Yo, man, what's up with the deal? Oh, no, Jacques, we got this going on. And then I was young in my career. So, okay, fine. I'd write a little story up. Oh, Matt is going to sign with the Cowboys.
Awesome. What a great life.
And then at 6 o'clock, something would happen, and Matt has agreed to terms with the Green Bay Packers. And I called the guy back, what happened? Oh, well, Green Bay came in at the last minute and gave us a new deal, da-da-da. So what happened was, over the course of time, instead of calling people at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, I literally said my work day doesn't start until 4 o'clock. Because then I don't have to worry about people changing their mind.
Then yeah.
Right, so that's how I came up with this whole term about sports is fluid and what's true right now. And I like to use this example because some people are like, huh, what? Okay, a day ago, Don Tyree Poe was a member of the Dallas Cowboys. That was true. A day later, he's not. Sports is that fluid.
Yep.
So a few weeks ago, the thought of life without Dak Prescott was ludicrous. I mean, he's terrific. He's leading the league in pass. He's got all these great stats. The team is struggling, but they're staying in games because Dak is doing his thing. The future is bright. Everything's gravy. It all looks good. And then he broke his ankle and the team fell apart. And now you have to ask the question because, and again, I'm being real with you. I can't sit up here and point to all the Cowboys dubs. I mean, I can't. You can if I work backwards, you can always win week 17 because somebody might be less motivated than you to win the game. But see, I think they play the Giants.
They do. They play the Giants.
And the Giants are like, we got a young quarterback. Let's springboard into the next year.
Right.
We got that gung-ho crazy coach, whatever is Joe Judge. They'll probably come to play.
Plus, Jason Garrett will make sure that he knows, hey, this win is really going to matter and carry over to the next season.
Right. So, I don't know that they can get that one. Cincinnati. Oh, they can beat the Bengals, no problem.
Can they?
Well, Bengals, again, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow. There should be like, man, we springboard into the next year. Maybe we can compete with Pittsburgh and Baltimore next year.
Right.
Let's go get it.
Right.
Okay, so they're not going to be a team that's going to lay down pluses on the road, and whatever fans they may or may not have will be excited to watch them play. All right, Minnesota in a few weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, they're probably capable of beating Minnesota, but again, Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, I don't know that they can score enough to beat them. I mean, I assume Andy Dalton is back by then, but I can't swear to it. So my point is, because I don't know how many games they're going to win, and I've kind of got it tapped out at 4, dog. I'm just keeping it real with you. 4 is the max to me. Then it looks like they could be, in the market for a quarterback, because what can happen is,
This gets interesting.
The Jets may need a quarterback. Jacksonville may need a quarterback. Dallas may need a quarterback. You're like, what are you talking about? Well, Dak Prescott, man, he's up to cost. I mean, pick a number.
37-7 if they tag him again.
37-7 if they tag him for 1 year.
Yeah.
And then you still got to come up with a long-term deal, because you're not going to pay him $52 million a year for the third tag.
Right.
So now you got to ask yourself the question, well, dang, is there a quarterback available? Like, I don't think they're going to be worse than the Jets. And so the Jets will get Trevor Lawrence if that's the guy that they fancy. Well, that leaves Justin Fields, and that leaves your boy Love from North Dakota State.
Who's supposed to be like the next Carson Wentz, if not better.
Right. And so now you can go down a rabbit hole, man, of...
my thing is, if you have a shot at Trevor Lawrence with the weapons they have here, if you somehow wound up with, if you are the worst team in the NFL, then I think you take him. And I think and I love Dak, and I think Dak can win, but I don't know that you sit there and you say, okay, 37-7, we're not a Dak Prescott away from winning a Super Bowl after what we've seen this year. There's a lot of holes. Would we be better off trying to go the Seahawks, Chiefs, what have you route of the last few years of low-cost quarterback, the rookie who hits, build around him for 4 years, invest in other spots?
That's a perfectly legitimate conversation to have, because the case for staying with Dak, and you're seeing it right now, is his incredible leadership skills, all right? You've seen that because this team is falling apart without him.
Which, by all accounts, Trevor Lawrence has that type of leadership.
Right. And you've seen it during the COVID thing,
Right.
where he and Justin Fields were trying to organize players and do all this stuff. So that gives you some feel good. Now, if you talk about Dak, the case for Dak, you got the leadership there. Then you got the continued growth, development, and talent. You all seen it. And I don't think you can just say Trevor Lawrence. You got to say one of the top two. Him or Justin Fields.
And then that, like, to me, I don't know, man. Like Lawrence is such a highly rated prospect where people are saying best since Luck, best since Manning, like that level of prospect.
Yeah.
They're not saying that about Justin Fields or the kid from North Dakota State.
Well, see, I don't think you can get Trevor Lawrence because he's going.
And then
to
if
the
you
Jets.
can't, then to me, I'm re-signing Dak and I'm going that route. And if I end up with the second overall pick, and I can't get, and Lawrence is off the board, I'm taking the team that wants to jump up and draft Fields or Love and says, we'll swap first this year, we'll give you next year's first, we'll give you this bevy of draft picks, and you use those to rebuild this defense. Because this offense showed you, even this season, when Dak was healthy and he was on the field, this offense can move the ball and score points. But your defense has some problems.
And I believe that. I think that's a perfectly legitimate route to go. Because, again, if you're talking Dak, it's the talent, it's the leadership, it's the talent, and then it's the youth. He's only 26. And so you have to imagine you still got, 12 more years of good quarterback play.
Right, and that's the thing is like we've
and
talked about this.
known quarterback play. Because, again, as you would tell us, ain't no guarantee once you get to the NFL, Trevor Lawrence can play.
Right, and we have seen many times, and we have this argument all the hell, we had it last Friday with people on our YouTube Live. You know, this whole idea about you can't win with the highly paid quarterback taking up whatever percentage of your cap. And I would always point out, so the Falcons lost the Super Bowl because Matt Ryan was making 18%. Right? Because that's the argument. Or the Packers lost the NFC title game last year because Aaron Rodgers was making almost 20% of the cap last year. That's why they lost. If you don't really believe that, then you don't believe it just hasn't happened. It doesn't mean it can't. Because I think if you can get into the conversation and you have a team that is good enough to get that deep into the playoffs, it has nothing to do with your cap situation or your quarterback. Now, if you believe that about Dak, which I do, and you believe the dude can win, then I wonder, I really do, if you get the second or third pick in this draft, are you better off trading that pick? Let's say, and I don't know who it would be, if it's who knows who's out there that is like, okay, Love or Fields, we've got to get this guy. This is our guy. And they literally, we know how this works. If you have the second or third overall pick and a team wants to jump up and says, hey, drop down to 9 and we want this, we'll give you next year, you have to take that, I think. Because with a healthy Dak, we've seen what this offense can do. The problem the whole damn time has been the defense. So go invest in it.
Right, for a change.
Because where's your money? Your money is in your offensive line, your money is in your quarterback, your money's in your running back, your money's in one of your wide receivers. You can flip the script. Instead of trying to win with the rookie quarterback with a bunch of other investments, win with the rookie beast Chase Young, the C.J. Henderson cornerback shutdown guy, whatever it is. You know, the win with the rookie defensive pieces on a cheap deal because you invested in your offense.
Yeah, that sounds good, man, but we ain't never seen Jerry do that.
No, we haven't.
I mean, we really haven't. Because when he came in the league, it was all about Troy, Emmett, Michael. It's offense.
Which it is still now. Like if they tag Dak again, it's Dak, Zeke, Cooper.
Right.
Or Lamb or whoever you want to throw out there.
They'd go out and take a left tackle with the 9th pick of the draft.
And you know what? I don't hate that, but I do think, I mean, again, and this is what I loved about what they did this year is they followed their board. They had a guy available for them at 17 that was so high on their board they couldn't pass. Was it a position of need? Probably not. I think we could all sit here and say they had Cooper and Gallup. You would have been okay if you didn't have Lamb.
Right.
But to me, and this is why, and I've argued this with people, it's like if they weren't going to take Lamb, then don't ever do a board again. Don't.
Yeah.
Just say, here's what we need, and we're gonna do our board only on positions of need. But if you're gonna do a big board, which every team does, then you have to draft a guy that's available to you that's so much higher than anybody else on your board. Otherwise, there's no point. And they did that. And so I trust in their draft process, believe it or not. A lot of people don't.
Well, I mean, I trust them because I trust Will McClay.
And I think that this team drafts really well for the most part. We'll see what this draft is going to bring us. You know, for all we know, Biotish is about to turn into, does he ever make a Pro Bowl and become a borderline Hall of Famer if he plays long enough like Frederick was? No. I don't know. You know, but he doesn't have to be. What if he's just an above average, solid as hell, 4th round center for the rest of his career?
That's good. You know, only in Dallas do they think you got to have all pros at every offensive line position.
You know, and then you got CeeDee Lamb, you've already won the draft. You've got Trayvon Diggs, who I know he has had some moments of hit and miss this year. He's a rookie. I'm telling you, that dude's going to develop into their number 1 cornerback. I think they had a lot of hits in this draft, and I think for the most part they usually do. This draft this season, depending on their record, is going to be interesting. They were 4-12, 5 years ago when they drafted Zeke at number 5.
Right? Number 4.
Number 4, yes. So if you're 4-12 this year, you're in the top 5. If you're 3-13, you're probably in the top 4. You're 2-4. If they lose the rest of their games, everybody apparently thinks they will. I don't think they will. I have a hard time believing they just go on this random ass weird losing streak. Somewhere along the way, they'll stumble and be like, oh no, we won. And we'll all get pissed. And it'll cost them the 1st or 2nd pick in the draft. Because I don't think the Jets will go 0-16.
Yeah, I mean, at some point they may play their game of the year. But again, man, I mean, I guess so if Andy Dalton's back, he gives you a hope. But I'm just telling you, man, they're so bad and they're so downtrodden. They don't have any belief in the coaches. The coaches don't really believe in them. That to me, it's incredibly easy for this team to go south.
What do you think they do if they wind up? If you think if they have the number 1 overall pick, they'd take Trevor Lawrence?
Now, number one, I don't think they're going to get the number one overall pick. But if they did, I think it'd be hard to pass it up because you'd say, just like we said,
Makes too much sense.
He's got all the intangibles.
And he
And
cost
then
us.
remember, if they had the number one pick, then I'm trying to think how you would do that. Because if you have the number one pick, then you know what you're doing. And so then it's all about, I guess you let Dak go. You don't even sign him if you have the number one pick.
When's the last time they had one? Was it Russell Maryland last time?
Yeah, but that was a fake number one pick. I mean, I think they traded for it or something. But Russell Maryland.
But that was the last one.
Yeah. I don't get the feeling Russell Maryland was like the
Consensus.
Yeah.
No, yeah, not at all.
So
No, yeah, and so like Trevor Lawrence, man, like if you have a chance to draft that dude, I think you have to because you're not going to a franchise that'll kill your career. You're going to a franchise that has shown, I mean, hell, they showed it with Troy Aikman. We know how to win with the guy drafted number one overall that has the tools. We'll put pieces in place. We have a family that's willing to spend. We have a good draft philosophy behind you. We're not the Jets. We're not the Browns. We're not the Jaguars.
right.
You know, outside of that, because, you know, and we see this all the time, you never ever see, there's always the 1-2 argument. We've never seen a class where 1-2 both pan out. You know, the last class, I mean, really with Goff and Wentz, maybe, I guess, because Goff played in a Super Bowl. Wentz's team won a Super Bowl, even though he didn't play in the playoffs that year.
Yeah, but neither one of them is transcendent like you thought you were getting.
And so I don't know, man. I mean, to me, if it's not Trevor Lawrence, I just look at the probability factors, and this is where analytics come in. You know, am I the coach that pulls Blake Snell? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I am. But I'm talking about you've got an 87% chance that you draft a dude who never makes the playoffs for you. If I feel like I'm going to nail that 13%, I think I have to go for it. And if not, I've got a dude who's already proven he can do it. In Dak. Yeah, the $40 million tag, roughly, I mean, 37, whatever, 38, it's not ideal. But that's what you've put almost your eggs in that basket to some degree.
Well, they've mismanaged it from the start. We shouldn't be surprised if they mismanage it again.
As we continue, and again, we are hanging out here at Hoppenstein Brewery in Grapevine this afternoon, as we always do. Thursdays, we always hang out at a local brewery. Most of you will be listening to this on a Friday. I know some of you will listen to it throughout the course of the weekend. But Hoppenstein is a really cool place here in downtown Grapevine, and that's where we are. So if you hear stuff in the background, you may hear some people talking or whatnot. That's why, because we're out here live on location. So we go from the NFL, and before we sit down with the owners of Hoppenstein, Brian Burton's going to join us. We're going to have a great chat with him. We shift our gears from the world of the NFL to the world of college football, where Texas, the Longhorns, they had a feather in their cap. They had, for the first time since Vince Young committed to Texas, they had the number one recruit in the country commit to Texas in Quinn Ewers, who is the quarterback at South Lake Carroll, until yesterday.
Dude.
And yesterday, on October 28th, he posted a thing on Twitter? Wow, that's weird. Twitter, letting it be known he is pulling his commitment from Texas. And I got to tell you, as a Longhorn fan, as a guy who follows the program, this is one of those things that if Tom Herman isn't going to pull in a guy like this and can't win the Big 12, 4 years into it, this is the type of thing where you just look at it and say, thanks for your service.
Dude, it's that one to me hurts. That one to me really hurts, bro.
It's a colossal loss.
Because I think we talked about this briefly last week. Ewers is the kind of guy, if he signs with you, he can recruit because he says, yo, dog, come catch passes for me. Let's go hook him back to the Big 12. Let's go dominate OU. Let's do all that stuff. And people will listen. He's also a guy Tom Herman can recruit too. Hey, man, we just signed. We got Ewers lined up, dog. Come ride with us, man. Come do this thing. Let's get Texas back. And instead, man, he's like, nah, fam, I'm good. I mean, let me see, what did I do? I read something. No, okay, it happened like this. Southlake played somebody last week. He scored on about a 6-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
Flashed it. Hook 'em horns. Tossed the ball to the ref. All right. Then Brian Davis, old friend of mine from the Dallas Morning News who works at the Austin American Statesman, reported last night on Twitter. He goes, Ewers had told people in Austin as recently as 48, 72 hours ago, I'm 100% committed to Texas. And I said the same thing. I retweeted and put sports is fluid. Now, what I have read is that he's interested in the Buckeyes.
God, no, he's not.
As well as...
Why don't you steal all of our state's best
as
talent?
well as Alabama, which would make sense from both of those programs because they're championship contenders.
I like those teams, but both were terrible.
So, you know...
Hey, man, if he can go to Bama, I'm good with that. Roll Tide all day.
Right.
I was at Bama when Mike Dubose was the head coach. And Dennis Franchione.
That's awesome.
I was
So,
a Buckeye fan when John Cooper lost to Michigan every year.
There you go.
yeah, so I was too.
You know, but I think for a guy like that, like I thought it was interesting. He's from Texas. He goes to South Lake Carroll. He's one of those kids that any program in the country wants him and was on him in a timely fashion, unlike, for those of you that watched last weekend, I happened to be watching the Ohio State game against Nebraska when the greatest player who has ever graduated from Rockwall High School, Stingham Jackets, Jacket Fight Never Dies, Jackson Smith-Njigba, has one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. The dude is a true freshman, and I'm telling you, you could see it in high school. You never know because of injuries and circumstance. That kid can go pro. Right. Now, will he? We shall see. But as a true freshman, and that is a dude from Rockwall, Texas, who, by the way, his first choice was not Ohio State. And I will tell you this, and this will tell you something about the Texas recruiting process, and not just Texas, but other schools. Ohio State was the first school to offer him. Brian Hartline, the receivers coach, recognized him, came down and offered him. 3 months later, Texas got into the picture.
OH! I'm sorry, dog.
So what I'm saying is, when you have an opportunity and you recognize you got a dude in your own backyard who went to my high school, who causes me to watch Ohio State games,
You know?
because I want the dude to be successful. I've met him. He's a good dude. He's a good kid. And you don't understand and recognize that talent until 3 months after a championship caliber program like Ohio State is like, dude, we got to get this kid.
Yeah.
Because he would have stayed in state. And I know this because I know people. He would have stayed in state, but they did not pursue him. And Ohio State would not let him go. They were the first to offer. And so then you see a kid like this, Quinn Ewers. And you're sitting here going, you're the number one recruit in the 2022 class. Like I said, the first time since Vince that Texas has the number one overall recruit.
Right.
And you let that dude get away? What are you doing in recruiting that is so fucking bad?
Wow.
That you can't get a dude right up the road from you in Dallas who agreed to come to Austin, and now all of a sudden you have pissed him off or done something, or your shit play has sent him away from you? Fire Herman today.
I think all of that is what we're talking about, man. I think, cats like that want to play, compete. How about this? Cats like that want to compete for championship.
Okay, but then why did he originally commit to Texas then?
Okay,
because he believed originally that Herman was going to do something, and guess what happened? They went out and lost a couple of games this season. He goes, oh, man. Is Herman going to be there?
Well, I think you're right. I think you want to compete for championships, and then you look at a place like Texas, and you just watch the games because you're a recruit, so you're watching the games, and you're just like, I don't see it. Like, I see me, but then some of it is I don't see who I'm playing with. I don't see the scheme working for me. Just all those things, man. And more importantly, I just don't see. Like, if you want to compete for a national championship,
sad.
If you're one of those elite players right now, somewhere on your list is probably Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama,
Bama, Roll Tide,
Georgia, LSU. I'm just being honest.
And let's be honest, where are the hottest girls at? Hands down, Tuscaloosa.
I've never been there, so I don't know.
Really? We got to go.
No, we don't.
Come on, it's
Nah,
great.
I'm good.
We'll have great
So-
tailgates. I know some people will get the hookup. It'll be great.
But, you know, now there's something to be said for I want to take my program, my signature program, in state and make them winners. Mom and dad can drive 4 hours.
Which is
down
what
the
I
road.
thought. Like this guy looked at himself as like, I can be Vince. I can be the savior that 15, 20,
I just
Jesus,
think, man,
20 years later brings you a
Can we-
championship.
Let's be real, man. I think that you can look at Texas and you just go, they've had some good recruiting classes. They ain't developed them worth poop. And then other people start talking to you and say, hey, man, if you come here to Clemson, I got, Deshaun Watson in the NFL, first-round pick. I got
You're right.
Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence, first-round pick.
Yep.
I mean, if you go to Alabama, hey, man, Jalen Hurts was a running quarterback. We got him to the, second-round pick. We got Mac Jones now. We win championships. If you're at Ohio State, Ryan Day. Hey, man, we put Dwayne Haskins in there, first-round pick.
See-
Justin Fields going to be a first-round
No, I get it.
And so you if you're Texas, you talking about state loyalty and let's share my vision with me. And these other programs like, you don't have to share no vision, dog. Just look at it. It's here. Ain't no vision. We done built the damn thing already.
Well, hopefully he will end up at Texas and realize that it's more fulfilling to build than to walk into what's given to you. And then you sit there and you act like, oh, look at me. I have all this acclamation and acclaim or whatever, and because it was already here. And I thought he was that guy, and I don't know him. I've never met him. I always think it's interesting when kids announce so early, because when I was trying to figure out what college I wanted to go to right off, I had no idea as a junior in high school, much less I barely knew as a senior in high school. And
I think that's a really good point. I think a lot of times it's a combination of, one, you're infatuated by a place because you've been there, they treated you right.
what was that?
Never mind.
I heard something in the background.
The second thing is, I think if I just commit, I get all these people off my back.
I think there's a lot of that, man, because, think about you, and I know everybody was different. Some people, and I graduated with people, when I graduated, you either went to Texas or A&M or Tech. That was it. And back then, Southwest Texas, which is now Texas State, where I went, wasn't really a big deal. And I've told the story before of why I ended up going to community college, because I was a theater kid, and Collin County Community College, the year before I went, won the American College Theater Festival, and we're the first community college ever to do so. And so I wanted to go do theater there. But my family thought I was going to go to Texas. It was like a whole big deal. And, you go through that, and, I ended up transferring a couple of times in my collegiate career where I would go and I would visit my friends for a weekend, and I thought, man, this is awesome. Like, my friends are here, this is badass. But then when I went there, I was like, oh, this is not for me.
No, it's not what I thought.
I mean, we're talking about hii school kids, and we know that. And if you remember back to when you were in high school, think about that. These kids get recruited, they go on campus, they have a threesome, the weekend they're there getting recruited. The bag man comes and says, hey, you signed with us, this suitcase full of money is yours. We're talking about highly recruited kids.
Right.
And they're thinking, my God, this is awesome. This is where I want to be. And I would imagine as time goes by, you say, wait a second, hold on. Is this really where I want to be? It's tough on these. Recruiting now is
Yeah, and I think
I couldn't imagine being in high school today.
No, I think all of that is true. And then I think sometimes you make an emotional decision, perhaps a decision that makes your parents happy or your uncle happy or your coach happy. And then the more you think about it, the more you just go, I don't know. I just want some more time to reflect. Now, I say this, when Ohio State when Urban Meyer left, they had a great recruiting class lined up, and Ryan Day was coming in, and 3 or 4 cats were like, I don't know this Ryan Day dude. They decommitted.
Sure.
But then they came back. They said, we spent some time getting to know Ryan Day. Okay, Ryan Day is cool. We're committed again. So maybe this happens for Quinn Ewers, although...
It could, and keep in mind, he's in the 2022 class.
Right, he's a junior.
Right, and so my thought is if Texas ends up doing some things this year, like they play Oklahoma State this weekend.
Right.
Oklahoma State, who I think is overrated, but it is what it is. If they beat Oklahoma State this weekend, that's a feather in their cap for this season because they're beating a top 10 team. You know, as they go through, like if all they do is lose 2 games and they run the table the rest of the way and win the Big 12 and go to the Sugar Bowl again or whatever it is, you know, then maybe Quinn looks at it and goes, okay, all right. And then next year, because he doesn't have to sign anything right now.
No.
You know, and so then Herman sits there. Herman's not going to get fired this year unless if they go 7-5.
They pull a Cowboys.
Right. You know, but generally speaking, let's say they lose another game along the way, they finish 9-3. I don't think Herman gets fired. It's too big of a buyout in a pandemic. I think he'll be here again next year. And that's where it'll get curious is if you can find that type of success that you were supposed to have this year, next year. And I don't know, I mean, they've got a couple options they could go with at quarterback after Ehlinger graduates. You know, is that enough to where Quinn Ewers sits there and says, yeah, okay, that was my gut. I wanted to pull back and see what these other schools could offer me because keep in mind, if you're going to Ohio State, you're going to Bama. Bama's got Bryce Young. Bryce Young's the future. Mac Jones is this year. Bryce Young's a freshman. That means if you go to Bama, Bryce Young's your sophomore, junior guy, you're waiting 2 years for your shot.
Oh, I don't think those cats think like that.
They don't, but that's reality.
No, it's not. I think those cats have been around the bush and been around they've seen enough now. Like, if he decides he wants to go to Bama, he goes,
I'm the guy.
He goes, I can beat out whatever his name is.
He won't.
And he can go.
I hope he's listening to this. I'm going to tell you something. I have asked Nick Saban to his face, how long does it take for a kid that comes into your program to understand what you're trying to do? He says, it takes about a year. Okay. It takes a year to understand the process. You're not going to beat Bryce Young, who's in that year right now, who's going to be the guy next year. You're not going to beat him out.
I think it's like Justin Fields. He didn't go to Georgia expecting to beat out whatever they're
from Eason. It was Eason at the time.
The first year, he goes, I'm going to go redshirt, learn, get strong, learn the offense. Redshirt. That second year, I'm ready to go compete. Okay, so I think it's the same thing with them. And then I say it because it's exactly the case at Ohio State right now, which is they signed 2 4-star quarterbacks this year. One guy, I can't even remember his name. He's from Scottsdale. The other guy's from California. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen.
One of them
you know what's going to happen.
One of them.
Justin Fields leaves. They go nose to nose and compete. And then
the other guy
whoever doesn't win the job transfers. And guess what? That is the nature of college football.
It is.
And so
maybe he transfers to Texas.
So
and they get
Ewers, because he's looking at Ohio State, he sees that and he says, okay, in 2 years, that's what happens. You know, but that's how those guys think now. So I don't think they're afraid to go compete anywhere because if you're going to Bama, you're going to Ohio State, you're going to Clemson, you're going to Georgia, every single solitary recruit they bring in is a 5-star, 4-star, ready to take your job.
Do you like college football today where there's 3 teams that can win the championship and we know who they are?
Because one of them is mine, yes.
You know, because I think about that, and I agree with you because my lady friend went to Alabama, and so we watch all the Bama games, and Bama's my second team. Texas is my first, but we know this. Alabama, Clemson, or Ohio State's going to win the national title this year.
We say that, man, and we say that. And if you were betting money, you would bet that. But the beauty of sports.
We say the beauty of this.
No, because.
But it hadn't panned out that way.
LSU won last year.
LSU was fucking good last year. We knew they were going to win.
We didn't know they were going to win.
Bullshit. You knew in the halfway through the season, you looked at LSU like they're going to win the national title.
I said it looked like it, but it's not like.
It was either them or Clemson. Guess what happened? LSU beat Clemson in the title game.
And LSU, I'm not convinced LSU was going to beat Ohio State. Ohio State kicked Clemson's ass until they kicked Sean Wade out the game.
Sucks for Ohio State.
That's what I'm saying. So, you never know. I thought for sure Alabama would run through the table 3 years ago, whenever it was, when they beat Georgia on the last play. And Georgia did everything but win the game.
Yeah, but it's not, like, to me, it's not about who's going to win. It's about, you know, there's 3 or 4 teams that are that have legit can win this thing. And the rest of us are just sitting out there looking at it going, man, I hope we get a cool bowl.
Yeah, but I think it's...
and it's like that every single year. Like, there's such a gap between the top level.
But I think it's
Like the year Michigan State made the playoffs, what did you think was going to happen? They're going to get their ass kicked by Bama. They lost 38-0.
I think we're in a cycle of that's what it was because for a minute it was it was Alabama and Clemson. Like I think Ohio State only joined the real like we can win it recently. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
And it's
Georgia's in there, but nobody from the Pac-12 has a prayer. Nobody outside of the Big Ten, other than Ohio State, has a prayer. Yeah. Nobody in the ACC, other than Clemson. In the SEC, I mean, let's be honest. And you can sit there if you're a Florida fan and be like, "Oh, you're Florida, bullshit." You know this is true. It's Alabama and it's Georgia, and that's who has an actual prayer. And then outside of that, I mean, stop with your Big 12 stuff. Oklahoma has shown what happens when they get to the playoffs. I love my dad. It's badass that he played at OU. He would tell you right out, they don't have, and you can see it when you watch the games, the depth of play that you get from Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, and Alabama is on a different plateau than the depth of play you get from any other program.
Yeah.
And that's real.
Right? But,
here's a great example, because we haven't talked about this. Jalen Waddle got hurt last week for Alabama. And Jalen Waddle, who probably would have been a top 10 pick in the draft, one of their best receivers, the dude can burn it. He runs a 4.35 40. He's injured. Guess what happens? Oh, next five-star up, John Mechie, you ready? And Mechie, and I kept telling, they were driving me nuts on the broadcast. Oh, Jalen Waddle, how? I was like, God, John Mechie is Jalen Waddle. He's the next guy. And Slade Bolden, he's the next guy. Like, they don't miss a beat. There's no drop-off. There's no miss.
The question, though, is I believe everything you just said because Ohio State got 3 of the top 6 receivers in the country, according to people who know these things, last year, including the number 1,
Jackson,
and the number 3 and the number 5. So, but it wasn't always like that.
No, and that's what I'm saying is like, where did it become like this?
It became like that at Alabama when Nick Saban showed up.
A decade. It's been like that for Clemson for a decade.
It became like that at Ohio State when Urban Meyer showed up. He changed it. Because Ohio State went 6-7 the year before Urban Meyer showed up. And then it changed when Dabo became Dabo. So your goal, I didn't say it was easy. Like we thought Tom Herman was going to be Urban reincarnated.
We thought that. We were wrong because he's not a coach.
Wrong.
He's a recruiter. He's not a coach.
But I tell you who's really good, even though he probably gets on your nerves, that whole row your boat thing, your boy Minnesota. You turn Minnesota into like a real program
Fleck?
in 3 years.
Is it Fleck up
there?
there?
PJ Fleck. He could go somewhere.
Well, and so here, to your point.
Kirby Smart.
Well, and Kirby's trying that at Georgia, but he can't beat Saban. Until he beats Saban, we'll find out. I think, and I told my lady friend watching the game a couple weeks ago, I said, you realize at some point Georgia's going to win this game. Because he can recruit and he can coach. He just has not gotten on the level of an Alabama yet.
Right.
There's still that mystical factor
you gotta beat him.
of playing Bama.
Right.
But Minnesota's interesting because Minnesota, people don't realize this. You know, Minnesota has 3 times the amount of national titles since that A&M does. That's a true statement.
Like something spoken by a Texas guy.
A&M has won 1 title since 1939. Minnesota won 3 in the 40s. Minnesota was a dominant program in the 1940s.
What happens is...
And became like a fart in the wind.
Yeah. Now, on the real, what happens is a guy like PJ Fleck, he does this at Minnesota. The next
leaves.
Real job that opens up. When I say real job, y'all know what I'm talking about. A Florida type job where you
and that's the problem.
A Florida State.
Why can't Minnesota be the real job? Why can't you win and stay at Minnesota?
I'm gonna be very honest with you. Because Jacques Taylor, big time recruit, I'm not going to play in 20 below weather.
Oh, but you'll go to Ohio State, which also gets cold as asshole.
It doesn't go. It's not like Minnesota. I mean, that's like talking about Dallas is hot. Dallas is hot. Dallas is not Phoenix. Okay?
See, and this is where I think, like literally, and look, we both do. We love college football.
It's my favorite sport. Did y'all know that?
Yeah, I knew that because you're a reporter, you're a journalist, and so like the NFL is like your workspace, and college football is your passion.
There you go.
And I love college football, man, and I love watching it. But I do miss the fact that you can have the random Colorado in 1990 or Washington, or like I said, like Minnesota in the 40s. Like what happened to this period of time where you could win and you were cool staying at a Minnesota? I'm a damn good coach. I'm coaching in a Power 5 conference. I can win a national title here. But you know what
might
happens?
think that.
He doesn't. Because you're exactly right. What will happen, and we all know this, if Texas fires Tom Herman, they're going to call PJ Fleck and be like, hey, come coach us. And PJ Fleck's going to look at him and be like,
But see?
would I rather be at Minnesota or would I rather be, and he's going to go to
check
Texas.
this out.
And Texas doesn't even win.
But
Neither does A&M, but they get all their guys.
if PJ Fleck could go reincarnated at Texas, then Texas would be in the conversation.
Texas
It's
is
all about finding the right guy.
you know, here's reality. Texas was going to get Nick Saban.
Yeah, they were.
And people always bullshit this and poo-poo it, but it's true. And I know it's true because I've talked to people that were in the conversation. They thought they had Nick Saban years ago when he decided to stay at Bama. They thought they had him.
Right.
Like the boosters legit thought Nick Saban's going to agree to this deal. That's why Terry, his wife, was in Austin shopping for homes. And they just, we're expanding our real estate. Like, we're just curious. Bullshit. And we all knew that. You know, then I remember, because I said something about this on the radio when I was in Alabama, and it was, no, that's not true. Where did you get that? Blah, blah. I was like, I have people that I have, look at this. I have sources.
Whoa! Source told Matt McLaren.
And this is true. Like, I'm not Jacques, obviously.
No.
But I have
You're
sources.
White, bearded.
Yes.
Good looking, but not quite as good looking as me.
But I have sources that are connected deep inside the Texas program.
Right.
And I heard this direct from one of them, and I was like, man, can I run with this? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right. So I put it out there, and all these people in Alabama are like, that's not true. It's like, I'm telling you, Texas boosters thought they had bought Nick Saban. For the reported $10 million, $100 and whatever it was, $1 million deal.
Right.
And at the last second, from what I was told,
Miss Terry didn't want to move, right?
it was that and the fact that they didn't tell Mac Brown, and Mac Brown heard what was going on through media. Like, they thought they had him, and they screwed it up. And so, you know, college football to me is good when I like what everybody does, right? I like helmet games. I like Ohio State. I like Bama. I like Texas. I hate USC, but I like when they're good. I like when Notre Dame's good. I like helmet games. I like when power programs are good, and if you beat my team, kick ass, you're better than us.
It's cyclical, bro. There was a stretch where USC, when Texas beat them, USC was, oh my God, they're unbeatable.
I'll never forget that.
Well,
Leading up to that title game, they were running a thing, is this the greatest team of all time? And I was yelling at the TV, why don't they play Texas first, asshole?
See, it was cyclical. It's cyclical. This is a time for Ohio State, Clemson, and Bama. And then in a few years, somebody else will uproot it for like this. You know why Ohio State's still in this conversation? I'm being serious now.
Because they changed coaches. Dabo
That's
has
what I'm
Clemson,
saying.
and Saban has Alabama. Ohio State went from Meyer to Ryan Day. Who's Ryan Day?
And they hit, but you don't always hit. Like, Tom Herman gets hired, and I go, oh, snap. They got the right guy.
I thought so, because look.
But he didn't hit.
I liked the Charlie Strong hire. But, dude, let's be honest. Charlie Strong had 3 of the worst seasons in Texas football history. You got to fire that guy immediately. Sorry.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But Tom Herman comes in and is like, oh, my God, we got the guy. This is it.
See?
And I said that on the show. I thought within 5 years, this dude wins a natty. So
that's what I'm saying. Ohio State remains in the conversation because Ryan Day turned out to be the guy. Dude, that was a roll the dice. It could have gone either way. But he turned into the guy. Now, here's the problem. Problem is, if you talk to enough people, they say, oh, Ryan Day loves Ohio State. But he wants the NFL. So when he goes to the NFL...
And they drop off, and then maybe Michigan...
See what I'm saying? When he goes to the NFL, the question becomes, whoever you hire, but is he the guy who can keep it up here?
See, because I got to tell you, I don't know if you've met James Franklin at Penn State.
I thought James Franklin
dude,
was going to have them in the national championship.
I did too, because I talked to James Franklin a lot when he was at Vanderbilt. And that he is the type of human being that has the charisma of a Nick Saban.
I would go play for James Franklin. I like that
dude. I'm going to tell you right now, that dude, if James Franklin walked in here and sat in front of one of these mics and spent 5 minutes telling me to run through this wall right here, I would do it. I would try it.
When Penn State hired him, I was like, oh, snap.
And he hasn't been able to get him to that level.
No, because he has a couple coaching issues, but other than that, man, it's just hard to.
But I have no doubt he is a winner. That dude, I mean, my God, if he was like, hey, Matt, and he spent 5 minutes convincing me that this plate of glass wouldn't shatter my face, I'd put my face through it.
I'm a James Franklin guy. I think
I love him. Like, I would love him to be at Texas. Like, I think.
See,
but I've
he's
met
the
him.
kind of guy who could do it at Texas.
See, and then you want, like, Herman, I thought, God damn.
But why would you leave Penn State to go to Texas?
Because it's the same level, essentially.
Unless you said, I'm being serious here. Unless you said Texas with me is the same as OU. Like I win 5, you win 5. At Penn State right now with Ryan Day at Ohio State, they're going 8-2 because they got a talent advantage that I can't reach.
OU's like that too because OU loses Stoops. And then here comes Lincoln Riley.
See, they hit the right guy.
And just continues the thing with this brilliant young offensive mind that can do it.
Got to hit what happened? Pete Carroll left, and what happened? They didn't get the right guy.
And OU is a better program than Texas. And it's true. I think it's true. And my dad would be, hey. But it is.
It is, though.
Dude, we need to have my dad on at some point.
He keeps saying that. It's our freaking show. If you want him
I'll tell him to come hang out. We'll get a couple beers in him. And I wonder if he'll tell stories publicly that I know.
Okay, just tell him.
Because you got to realize, my dad played in the 70s.
All those people are either dead or can't hear anymore.
My dad, and his perspective on this.
Matter of fact, you know what we could do? See, this is what happens when it's your show and you own it. We just go out to the house and set up.
Oh, shit, we could do that. And drink beer. We could crash there.
Then he don't even got to do nothing.
That's where we do the after dark.
Okay.
Because he'll grill for us and we'll.
Oh, yes.
Dude.
Okay, go set it up.
Lovely Lorraine can come. Lady
go
friend,
set it up.
It'll be.
We're not having happy time in your house, though.
No, well, because my parents
we'll go down to the hotel down the street on the water.
Hilton
have
Harbor
happy
Hilton.
time there.
Yeah, man, because my dad was on that 74 title team. My dad was the last class.
Okay, I'm tired of talking to you. When you going to set it up?
I'll do it. Let's do it. I got to talk to my parents and see when my dad.
Okay.
Let's go over on a Friday night.
Right. And your mom needs to bake some cookies at the end.
She'll bake, and my dad will grill, and we'll drink.
And I'll work out beforehand so I can feel no guilt.
And we'll go hang out
shame.
and do a podcast in their house. And I'm like, all right, Dad, we want to know about the 70s at OU.
Well, I'm a reporter. I'll interview his ass.
My dad played for Barry Switzer his first year. My dad was recruited by Chuck Fairbanks.
Yep.
Switzer, he signed with Chuck Fairbanks, and then Fairbanks is like, fuck you, I'm going to New England.
Right.
So and then Switzer comes in. Switzer is my dad's coach. Jimmy Johnson is my dad's D-line coach.
Right.
And some of his stories, like you got to realize, my dad was a freshman in college when freshmen were ineligible to play. The very next year, freshmen are eligible to play. Guess who the freshman was that showed up on campus?
Billy Sims.
Leroy Selman.
Wow. See, there you go.
And my dad looked at him and goes, I'm not going to play. And to hear his stories with Selman and like all these guys. Like, yeah, we got to do that.
Okay.
God, what a conversation that turned into.
Who knew?
I love it. See, this is why I love doing this. Because I didn't look at a clock.
I don't know how long it was. How long was it?
30 minutes right now. And it was awesome. Because college football is so passionate and you have so much hate or love for it.
Right.
You know, like many of you, like I hate the Aggies. I hate them.
I hate Michigan. Dude, I told you, I went to Heim last week. I'm minding my own business. I got my Ohio State stuff on because, as y'all know, that's pretty much all I wear.
It is, really. It's really weird.
It's just what I
how I ever wear is brewery shit. You wear Ohio State.
Like, I've got about 5 Ohio State t-shirts.
Balls.
And I've got, I'm not exaggerating, about 8 hoodies. And I just...
You do have a lot.
And I've raised my son well. He's got about 5 t-shirts because every time I buy one, I buy 2 to 1 for him because I'm selfish like that. But every year for Christmas, he can bank on a couple of Ohio State t-shirts and a hoodie or a zip-up hoodie or something. He can just bank on it. Yeah. That's coming. It's just a matter of which box it is. I wear my 8 hoodies out and about, so I'm minding my own business at Heim, man. I picked up some bacon burn-ins. I'm minding my own business. I'm walking, and I see this dude with Michigan stuff on, but Again, I'm not, we're the winners, so there's no need for me to say anything.
This fucking guy.
This dude looks at me and he says, "Go Blue." It's a brother, too. And I looked at him and said, "Dog, maybe before you die, y'all will win again." I said, I was off. I go, my dude is 16, man. He don't know nothing about Michigan wins, dog.
That's awesome.
I said, "Hey, man, I hope you get to experience one more in your lifetime. Because it's only been 3,200 days since y'all last experienced the victory."
That's awesome. It's like a dude I met at Celestial. I was sitting there drinking a beer a couple of weeks ago. This dude comes up to me and goes, "Hey, is this you?" Shows me my Twitter pic. I'm like, "Yep, that's me." He goes, "Man, I listen to your show and your podcast all the time." I was like, "Cool." Decked out in Michigan gear. And because of you, I was like, I don't know about this guy. He ended up being pretty cool. I talked to him for a bit, but
Right.
it's funny like that. And I gotta tell you, I hated Ohio State for a long time.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah, because of 05-06 or 04-05.
I thought we split those games.
We did, but
We won at your place, you won at our place.
I knew a guy who was an Ohio State fan at that time who was a dick.
Wow.
And look, I like Steve. Steve Dennis is a good dude. I like Steve. I've been around him many, many times, but he is so over-the-top Ohio State fan guy that I'm like, okay, I get he's a Buckeye, Steve. I understand. Then I met you. I'm like, all right, Jacques is a fan. Like, he's not a dick about it. He gets it. If you're good, you're good. You can talk some shit, which is great, which is what I love about college football. And I got to tell you, I am such a fan of Jackson Smith and Jigba, who, look, when you go to a place like Rockwall High School, where I went, and nobody ever does anything other than me. And by the way, the conservative crazy ass fuck Alex Jones?
Yes.
He went to Rockwall.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, I see why you don't claim him, but okay.
That guy went to Rockwall. So
Really?
when you look at people, and I sit there and go, Jackson is a kid. He's a good dude. My buddy Rashid coached him, knows him very well. And I was like, I think it's really cool when you see a guy making plays at the level of college that he's making plays that went to my high school. And you sit there and you go, you know what? Like I said this on Twitter, I'm not kidding you. Jackson Smith is the best product, football-wise, to ever come out of Rockwall. I mean, obviously the best product ever is me, but...
You got a statue.
I do. Remember that girl told you.
Yeah, right.
They moved it
right.
inside because it was raining. Oh, we're having a good time, man. What a great podcast. I'm glad you guys are here. Thanks for hanging with us. We are here at Hop and Sting Brewery. You guys need to come check it out. They're making great beers, and we are about to be joined by the owner. The bar manager is going to sit down with us as well, but one of the owners and brewers, Brian Burton, is going to sit down with us, and we're going to welcome him in. Hop and Sting Brewing, which is, for those that don't know, it's in Grapevine. Really, it's pretty much like in downtown Grapevine, I would say, like right off the square in downtown Grapevine, off 114, like Main Street, easy to get to. Brewing some good stuff out here on the west side of DFW, and a couple of guys sitting down with us. Welcome in.
How's it going? Hey.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
My name's Andy Elton. I'm the taproom manager at Hop and Sting.
I'm Brian Burton, one of the co-founders and brewers with Hop and Sting.
So Hop and Sting, man, like I don't even know this. Why Hop and Sting? Why do you call it that?
Well, I'm kind of a big nerd when it comes to mythology and nursery rhymes and those fables and stuff. And I was always fascinated by this one story called the Scorpion and the Frog. And basically it's kind of a story of basically doing what's in your nature. Whether it's good for you or it's not good for you.
Yeah.
Usually, at least in that story, it doesn't end well for either party. Which as a metaphor for owning a brewery, there's about a million other things you can do. That's a smarter business proposition than owning a brewery, but we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yes,
I
it's
hear
definitely not the most uplifting fairy tale as they go, but
who was being kind? Was the frog was being kind to the scorpion?
Yeah, then the scorpion stings them as they were crossing the river, and then as they were both sinking, the frog asked the scorpion, "Well, why'd you do that?" Because I couldn't help myself; it was in my nature.
We've all dated women like that.
yeah.
Some of us even married them. Not me, but some of us. And I'm not looking at anybody. So every time we go to a brewery, the guys who own it, the guys who run it go, "This is not the smartest decision I ever made." So I'm always curious, why did you throw yourself into the smartest decision you never made?
Well, because my partner John, he's running a little bit late today, but we both work together at other breweries, and we're both the types of people who enjoy just working. And long hours, dirty work, stressful work is kind of in an odd way are things that we enjoy, that we're drawn to, and we both have science backgrounds, and we both just love beer. So it's just we get to have all those things, but it's a very challenging industry to be in. It's a very challenging industry to make money in, and you kind of just do it, and it's probably not good for you, probably not good for your health in the long run, but it's
all the beer.
It's hard not to put on the
mental.
brewery 15 after you start working there.
But it's just something that we felt we had to do.
What do you mean you felt you had to do it?
We just enjoyed the work.
Well, when you're making beer all the time, anyways, you might as well be getting somebody else to pay you to do it.
But we're the types of people that just you stay till the job's done. We have a very substantial facility, at least compared to a lot of the breweries in the Metroplex, and it's me, John, and one other guy, Lane, who we fill all the tanks on our own. We brew all the beer, we package all the beer ourselves. We also run the office admin. We oversee the sales. We do have a sales team that works under us, but it's like now, John, who's my senior partner, is out delivering beer right now.
Yeah.
And it's we're just weird people that just like the sadistic challenge of just having a job like this.
I like that. The sadistic challenge of having a
Yeah,
job.
it's interesting too, because like a lot of the times, like Jacques mentioned in doing this, it's funny how many guys that are in the brewing industry that have either a science or an engineering type background. And I always tell people, this is so scientific, because everybody always says this to me, like, oh, you love beer, you should open a brewery. I'm like, man, you are out of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one, I don't have any interest in actually legit trying to brew beer. I've done a little bit before, and it's so scientific, and the science behind it. And it's like cooking. I tell people all the time, like, if you love to cook and you like science and you love cleaning, then maybe you should brew beer and own a brewery.
I used to work on commercial fishing vessels, so I was constantly dirty and in rough environments. So this was kind of easy.
A commercial fishing vessel. Tell us about that. That sounds fascinating. Like up in the Alaska,
like one
that
of those
show?
Discovery shows?
Yeah, I was actually on a couple of those boats that were on that show.
Really?
And it's not on the show. It's
Like the show.
Yeah. Well, so those boats, they fish both crab and they fish.
Right.
I was on the boat when they fish, and so I obviously wasn't on the show. But yeah, I was a contracted scientist that worked alongside the fishermen, out on deck on these boats for months at a time.
How does one get a job like that?
Well, you got to have some sort of science degree, specifically around marine biology or some sort of earth science, and then you just take the job. I mean, there's programs all over the country and even all over the world where you can do this job. Some are better regions to do the work than others, but it's just something that you do, and there's quite an interesting population of people that do it for a living or have done it, and it's.
All right. So what part of the world were you in?
Bering Sea and North Pacific.
Oh my God.
Okay. What's the closest you came to death?
Probably when this one boat I was on caught fire.
What? Like in the middle of the
That's the problem right there. Should never be on a boat called fire.
Oh, that's about the scary situation you can be in is when your boat catches fire, because either you get burned up or there's nowhere else to go.
Burned up.
Yeah, you're never abandoned ship.
Did you get rescued by the Coast Guard or
No,
whatever?
luckily the crew was well trained and on their fire team. They were able to get the fire under control. Although the boat was disabled, we had to get towed in. But it was pretty scary. I was sitting there doing my job. So basically, I go through and sort through a lot of the fish that they catch to kind of take biological samples and stuff. And I'm sitting there. I look over towards the engine room door, and there's just this billowing cloud of black smoke coming up like that. And I'm like, oh crap. Fire.
Dude, that is nuts. That is the craziest thing. I didn't know that you did that. So how long are you on a boat when you're out? You live on the boat. You're there for a long time.
Yeah, you live and work on the boat just with the fishermen. And, I did that job for the better part of 12 years, averaging between 7 and 8 months of a year at sea. And
oh my God, this is amazing. Like, my mind is blown by this. Like, how do you not go crazy if you're on a boat for 7 months?
Because there's no happy time.
It happens, but it's kind of
It's like being in prison almost.
in a way. And a lot of the fishermen I work with were hired out of prison or have spent time.
Well, yeah, they're like, oh, this is great. At least I get to see the outside.
But it was a lot of fun. I made good money, and it gave me the opportunity to travel the world. Have a lot of free time to visit friends and family around the country, and just kind of eventually it put me in a situation where I eventually moved here, and obviously that allowed me to own a brewery.
Yeah, so how do you go from spending 7-8 months out of the year on a boat to like, oh, I'm going to go open a brewery and start brewing beer? I mean, where's that transition happen?
So I had an on again, off again girlfriend
that
I met up there. She actually did the same job I did. So
on the boat.
Yeah. So imagine meeting a very attractive young woman who is adventurous and tough enough to do that kind of job, and also dumb enough to find you interesting. So. But yeah, we kind of, the last time we got back together, we decided we were going to get engaged, and of course, not long after that, she gave me an ultimatum to move to Dallas, because that's where she took a job down here, and then so I'm like, okay, well, all right, I'll quit my job and move to Dallas, and then of course, I didn't have any. We were supposed to do this real slow, so I had to so I had to basically come down here where I didn't know anybody but her. And try to start over again. So I obviously I can't be a marine biologist and be at sea in North Texas at all.
Not a huge market for marine biologists.
But I happened to get a part-time job working for Grapevine Craft Brewery and making $9.50 an hour part-time.
There it is.
Just I never worked in a brewery. When I homebrewed a little bit. But I thought it was, fun. I always wanted to, get a job in a brewery. Once I retired from, my old job, and so I'm like, I'll take the pay cut. I had a little bit of money in my savings, but of course that went quick. But it kind of went from there.
Yeah, because this facility used to be Grapevine Craft Brewery.
Correct.
And then you guys took it over from that. You were contracting out of here, right? At first?
We were planning to, and then, through that negotiation, the last remaining owner of that group was basically like, why don't you guys just buy the place from me? And then we kind of laughed a little bit because we don't have any money. But eventually he's like, no, you don't need any money up front. Just, I'll just take, my ownership of the place and kind of turn it into a loan. And he gave us favorable terms, and so
he was just done, ready to get out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he bought out his partners and was going to try to go at it on his own, and then he realized that he didn't know anything about beer or breweries. Outside of what he learned being an investor in Grapevine, and he just he knew John and I both John and I worked for him at one time, and he trusted us. He knew our work ethic. And he knew that we'd be good stewards of this facility, and that we would make it, or at least till COVID happened. But we're still doing okay. But he knew that he was going to get his money back eventually.
Yeah. So how long is the process from you meet this hot chick on a boat in the middle of the Bering Sea, which is crazy? She's like, all right, I want to move to Dallas. You guys get here, you start working, and you already said you didn't really know a lot about beer and all that type of thing and running a brewery, but you're working for one. How long is the transitionary period to where you're all of a sudden finding yourself as an owner in a brewery in a city where you don't know anyone?
Well, the transition was easy just because I was used to, part of my old job working at sea was I was basically forced to go from boat to boat to boat and live and work with new people every time I started a new contract or a new part of the season. So, I was being able to adapt to a strange circumstance was very easy for me. But dealing with the pay cut was the most challenging thing down here. But I like I said, my previous work background, gave me a work ethic and kind of a comfort level of being dirty and kind of being in such an environment. And my science background gave me the ability to learn quickly. And I just kept learning. Any odd job that I did at Grapevine, I kept
learning. I got to work under some amazing brewers, starting with, Kate Orrell, who's, was a longtime brewer with Boulevard. Gavin Secchi worked with us, and he's one of the co-founders of Three Nations. And of course, John. And, so I got to learn from those guys, and then I just kept taking more and more responsibilities till eventually Grapevine moved from Farmers Branch to Grapevine, and Caton took me under his wing and showed me basically how to build a brewery. So it was pretty much, while everybody else was on furlough, we built this facility, and then he decided he was going to retire, or at least semi-retire. So he left, and then they realized I could do the job, so I was promoted to production manager. And of course, I did that for a little while, and eventually, I had a falling out with one of the original owners of Grapevine, not the nice one that we bought the place from.
The other guy who's an asshole.
Yeah, true. I won't argue with you on that one.
All right,
so I left, and then I took. I kind of bounced around from brewery to brewery. I passed through Texas Ale Project.
Yeah.
And then I kind of landed at Four Corners, and because Caton took a job with Four Corners because they were in the process of building a new facility in the Cedars.
Yeah.
And they were basically using the exact same equipment manufacturer, so they just built a giant version of what this place is. So obviously Caton took me under his wing again, and he and I built that facility. So again, I was kind of put in these challenging situations to keep learning and doing more and more things that brewers don't start doing till years and years and years into their profession. And then John and I decided we were going to go out on our own and start Hop and Sting, and he his experience combined with my experience, and then we brought Lane in, who's probably one of the best packaging line operators in North Texas, among other talents. We all came together and did this. That's the process.
Incredible.
Interesting. They went straight from brewing in a barn to brewing in this massive facility.
Yeah.
There was no middle ground there that most people would go through.
Yeah, it is. I mean, do you feel like when you make a jump like that, because a lot of the times with breweries, when you start small, and you're brewing, I mean, even like from a 7-barrel system to jump up to, your big tanks, did you find like there was a learning curve there? Did you feel like you jumped into the bigger facility pretty easy?
It was pretty easy because, in my tenure with Grapevine decided they were going to pivot and become a contract brewery. So part of what we did was have to take recipes from breweries from all over different parts of Texas or parts of the country who wanted to brew their beer here, and they had a myriad. They all brewed on different systems, different sizes. So the efficiencies of those systems were all different. So there are certain equations that you can kind of utilize to take a recipe brewed on a smaller system that's less efficient and brew it on something like we have here at Grapevine, or in the Grapevine facility here at Hop and Sting. So just being able to kind of, have that knowledge, I can take any recipe for the most part and scale it up to a batch on this system.
See, he's already bringing in the science. He's like, there's an equation you can use. It's like, all right,
it's on a spreadsheet. I couldn't tell you that equation off the top of my head. It's on a spreadsheet.
I don't care about all of that, but Matt's over here sucking down his hot beer. And so I'm always fascinated.
It's hot beer. It's a pepper beer.
I don't use these technical terms. He's sucking down his hot beer.
Served cold.
And that's served cold. And I'm always fascinated, like, what makes you decide we're going to throw ghost peppers and whatever else into some hot beer?
Well, I like chili beers. I was always a big fan of Habanero Sculpin from a brewery called Ballast Point. I thought that was one of the most incredible beers I've ever tasted.
Really?
And
I love that beer, man. That was such a good beer. The only thing that I found that was interesting was the heat level was never consistent for me. You know what I mean? Like you could get.
Well, that's hard to do.
Right? Yeah, and it would be up and down. Like with bottles in the 6-pack, it would be different. But I loved that beer. I thought that was one of the better beers made with peppers that I've ever
had. I don't know the heat levels based. I mean,
it's not that hot. I mean, you get the burn, but it's not like you are like, oh god, I'm gonna cry.
So basically, when I was making that, I kind of I added a little bit at a time, and it kept tasting it until it was like it got the point where it is now. I was actually going to add more because I wanted more.
Really? In this?
Yeah. But it's like everybody else was tasting. They're like,
you're good.
Yeah, you're fine.
We've done it as a taproom special before and not canned it and kind of shared it with the world.
Yeah.
And in taproom only versions, it actually was a little spicier. So it just kind of depends on the person. Some people like it a little more, but for one we're making for the masses, for everybody, it needed to be, where it's got that hint of heat on the back end, but it's not going to.
So is it canned now?
Yeah, it's canned now. But we primarily did it just because it's there's a small population of beer drinkers that just love beers like this.
Yes, I work with one.
Yeah. Or there's just people out there that just like hot food and they want to try anything and everything, whether it's a food or a beverage that's spicy. And so we're going to try to hit that market, and we feel we have a pretty good one, and also we also have
a very good one.
And we
this
also
is
have
really good.
We also have a very good source of the chilies. So Lane, my other partner, his mom, she grows all of our chilies.
Is that right?
Yeah, she has a farm out in Lindale, Texas. And
out by Mineola.
Her name is Beth Walker. She's amazing gardener. She said there. She just asked if we wanted to do this because she's always loved to do ultra hot chilies. She's been growing them for years, and she's like, how many do you need? And we're like, well, I need
1,000 pounds.
I think she did 30 pounds of the different chilies.
But a nice one that they're uncommon chilies, so you get a little bit different flavor profile than you would get if it's just a habanero beer or something like that.
Yeah.
And what's great using these ultra hots is that they're so hot. So what flavor they have is actually quite benign. So a lot of chili beers, like a jalapeno or a habanero beer, you have to use more of them to get that same heat level. So you taste them more in the beer. But in this one, you taste the beer more as well as the mango puree that's in it. So it's
there's some mango in there too.
Yeah, so you taste that before you taste. You don't get that Tabasco vegetal flavor that you get with a lot of chili beers. You just get a clean heat that's there, then it's gone.
Okay, you sold me. I'll take 3 ounces.
A taster like on a flight, yeah.
Yeah.
This is, because I love beers, like chili beers, pepper beers, like you were saying, the habanero Sculpin. There's a couple of others. OHB's got a jalapeno lime Kolschan. They're all good.
That was good.
Yeah.
That's
and
really
I thought
good.
it was going to be nasty.
To your point with the jalapenos, that flavor really comes through. And in this, my God, this is good. This is really damn good, man. Like this is going to be one of those beers that I will just drink all the time.
I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm not gonna drink it all the time unless it's really good.
And obviously we want you to drink more than one of them. That's kind of part of the deal. So we don't want you to drink one of those beers and just be on fire. And
I think it doesn't smell hot.
So yeah.
Well, you gotta. That's one of the things like with pepper beers.
It builds on you.
Like the habanero Sculpin, for whatever. Like Sculpin by itself is a phenomenal IPA. And when they threw those habaneros in it, I was like, damn. What do you think?
That's pretty good.
Hot?
Yeah.
They burn you a little bit?
No. See, I was expecting, maybe because I was expecting red hot.
It builds.
No, you get the heat on it for sure.
bad.
It is definitely there. This is you get heat for sure. There's a cidery in Deep Ellum that did a ghost pepper cider, Trinity cider. And they did a ghost pepper one. And I went in there one day and they made you sign a waiver. Like, this is really hot. I was like, it can't be that bad. That's when my lips swelled up. My lips were like, it was so hot. It was like this. I talked and my lips were a little swollen. I was like, oh my God, this is so hot. Like,
it does get you some heat after a while.
That was uncomfortable. I could only do one of those.
So when I worked at Grapevine, the inspiration for this camp, I actually got some chilies from Lane's mom back then, because Lane was working with Grapevine at the time, and we actually put the chili in the keg. Okay. So
just let it sit there?
Yeah, so so the longer it sat in there, of course it got hotter.
Yeah.
And of course when you tapped it, and everybody got a glass after glass after glass, what was left in there kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So what we did this thing. It was right around Halloween, where it was like the 7 levels of hell. So we had these T-shirts made that if you came in, for 7 days and drank off that keg, you would get the.
Dude.
And I think only like 1 or 2 people made it.
Yeah, because at the bottom of that, man, you'd be drinking like straight heat.
We had to throw some of the kegs away because we tried to wash them and then put another beer in it. That next beer was hot.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah,
it just soaked it up.
Crazy.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good.
So, what style is like your go-to?
Yeah.
Personally, to drink.
Personally, and then to brew.
Well, personally, like of our beers, it's our Aluminum Cowboy. It's just a simple light lager, which simple is just from drinking it's what most people are used to when they think of a beer, an American beer. Yeah. But it's not simple to make. It's probably, and I guess to segue into your next question, it's actually the most interesting beer that we make here.
Really?
Just because it's a true lager, and Matt, you probably know this, that lagers there's a lot more complexity to what you need to do. One, because it takes the yeast is more temperamental, I guess is a good word for it.
Right.
So you kind of have to baby it a lot more. There's a lot of things you have to do.
Imperfections come out.
Yeah. So and with them being lighter, crisper beers, if there's a flaw, it comes out right away.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they go to breweries, they'll drink their IPAs and stouts, which is fine. But if you really want to, judge a brewery on, whether they know what they're doing, is try the lager. And if the lager's good, everything else is probably going to be good.
Now see, Matt will tell you, I can't stand lagers because they taste like beer.
Yeah.
And I don't like beer, which is why we started doing this many months ago. Because Matt was like, "What do you mean you don't like beer?" I said, "I don't like beer. It doesn't taste good."
Yeah, it made no sense to me. I was like, well, if we're going to hang out, you're going to have to drink beer.
Yeah. But I bet you're finding beer now that you like that you didn't realize was a beer.
Well, yeah, because I tend to like. See, Matt may have beer dad tears now. I tend to like more of the East Coast hazy juicy IPAs.
Okay.
Coffee stouts, which they have.
They have Frigid Underworld.
Yeah,
See, I didn't know they
say.
were Frigid Underworld makers.
No, remember that? Because we tried that on the show. We did the espresso one, I think, that you liked a lot.
Right. See, I was doing my research, and I was researching. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, so these are the fellas who came up with Frigid Underworld." I bought a Frigid Underworld a month ago.
Okay. So if I remember correctly from, I listened to y'all's show quite a bit, at least,
My
my
man.
kid. So, JJT, if I remember correctly, you're a Buckeye.
There you go, baby.
I grew up in Ohio. I'm a Buckeye fan. My brother went to Ohio State.
All these Buckeyes everywhere, man. It's unbelievable.
I like this guy.
It's like you guys love Ohio so much, you can't, like, you move in hordes to Dallas.
I was about to say, but they have a lot of extraordinarily good breweries up there now.
Is that right?
I don't know when was the last time you've been up there to visit?
Well, since I broke up with the ex, man, I ain't really made it back there much. But I will go at some point because my dude wants to go check out a game up there.
Oh, yeah, got to.
And
see.
we were going this year with COVID because one of my boys has a son who plays on the team. So getting tickets is not a problem. So we'll go next year at some point and go hang out. And now that I know what to order in a flight,
There you go.
I'll go check out some of them.
God, you'll actually drink the whole flight. It'll be amazing.
He gives me stuff for this all the time because, the name of the segment was Just a Sip. So I go to a brewery and take just a sip.
Yeah, that's all you need to do.
See?
He orders a flight and will take a sip out of the beer, and then you look at it, and the people are like, did you not like the beer? You left everything there. And he's like, oh, no, I just wanted to sip out of it. And then I'd go behind him and finish it. I was like, we can't leave this beer just sitting here. Come on, man.
There you go.
But I found that I tend to, like it's too strong. I tend to appreciate interesting beers. That's why I don't like lagers for the most part, because I don't find them interesting because they taste like beer, and I don't like the beer taste.
This one's really good. The Aluminum
Juicy
Cowboy.
hazy IPAs because they have a little more flavor in them. But I don't like those West Coast ones because they're way too bitter.
Okay.
Well, if look at you talking beer. I have a boner. Oh, my God.
Seasoned pro over here.
But I'm a coffee stout guy.
Well, good.
That's my thing.
Those are good ones.
I heard y'all had some barrel-aged coffee stouts or something.
It's not the coffee, but it's the barrel-aged version of the base beer.
Yeah.
So we can get you a sample of that.
See, that's my guy right
What's
there.
y'all's most popular beer that moves the best?
Probably,
Depends, are you talking in the tap room here, or are you
Yeah,
talking
both. Like
outside?
shelves
probably
and tap.
overall, it's
Really?
Miracle.
Yeah,
Why are they
Miracle
different?
is by far our number one seller
What's
in
Miracle?
the tap room.
Miracle is our blood orange wheat. It's actually one of our
Do I like
four.
those?
Yeah. If you like blood, if you like blood
beer,
orange,
you like this
Well, it's
beer.
juicy.
but
it's
also,
citrusy.
and even if you don't like the beer right away, you'll feel good drinking it because proceeds of that beer goes to help Miracle League, which is a baseball league for kids and young adults with disability, of which Andy was a coach.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, John was my assistant coach the other on here.
How about that? What made you start doing that?
I was just looking for some particular charity thing to do. I wanted to do, kind of give back, but I didn't know what the right thing was for me, and that just kind of fell in my lap. I'm a huge baseball fan, so I got to go help little kids play baseball, and honestly, it's probably the most fun thing I've ever do. It's equally as rewarding for anyone who's actually volunteering for it as for the kids, because the kids are just incredible. They have more fun playing ball than anybody you've ever seen. It's just amazing how good of a time those kids have out there playing. So it's really a great experience. So for us to be able to give back and help make sure they can do their thing has been great for us too.
So how'd you get wrapped up? I mean, you're the tap room manager, so where'd that come for you?
So John, the other owner, and I actually have been good friends for a long time. I actually own a roofing company, but I ran bars and restaurants for years and years. So I kind of, right after they bought the place, I came in to kind of give them my 2 cents and, what I think they should do to improve their taproom side of the business. And that just kind of spiraled and escalating into now I'm in charge of the taproom side of the business. But it's been, it's been going great for us overall. So we've been able to, really build, fortunately we inherited a decent taproom business and we've been able to really build on it since.
Yeah, and the setup is really cool because you have the little bit of the upstairs, but the outside area too, like the last couple of times we've been here when it hasn't been freezing cold, we sit outside because it's such a nice little patio area you guys have.
Yes, our beer garden is just tremendous. We're really lucky, especially to have, really this big giant tree you can see right here is really kind of our centerpiece of the beer garden where, if it's nice outside, literally every seat in the beer garden will fill up before any single person sits inside.
Oh yeah, like sometimes because when we go and get Maddox every once in a while, that since he's over in Fort Worth, we'll stop by on here like on a Friday evening, whatever. And I know this is so lame, but you guys are so close to the airport. I just sit here and watch planes go by.
Hey man, this is a judgment-free zone. Okay, what is this one?
That's the lager.
Yeah, that's probably Aluminum Cowboy, our light lager.
Yeah, and it's
Smells
super
like
clean.
beer.
Yep.
See, that's the one thing about lagers that I think people are like, lagers are so simple, there's nothing to them, and yet they're the hardest beer. See, I think that, like, for a lager, though, for a lager.
This is a well-done lager, because it's nasty.
Dude,
that's how I know it's well done. Tastes just like beer.
And I think, that is so crushable, it's super easy, and it's super clean.
All right, here's a miracle for you.
There you go. Try the Miracle.
Miracle. Oh, this is the Miracle. Oh, this is the blood, wheat, honey, red, orange thing.
The blood orange
something
wheat.
Like that.
Where did honey come from?
I don't know, man.
He's just making up beers
I think
for you
the
now.
color made me think
Maybe you guys have some ideas of what you're going to brew next from Jacques' random ranting.
There we could. We've always wanted to put honey in a beer. We just haven't got there yet.
There you go.
That's interesting.
I like a blood orange beer. Blood orange beer.
I don't know if I like it or not, but it's interesting. It's not bad.
Nice and citrusy.
Like that lager, well done, because it was.
So is Miracle's number one on the shelf too?
It's up there. God, it kind of ebbs and flows. Aluminum Cowboy's picking up. Actually, that just got. We have a distributor that sends our beer out to different parts of Texas. Not in the Metroplex. We still self-distribute, but we have a statewide HEB mandate for Aluminum Cowboy.
That'll slay it.
Yeah.
So you guys will be down in
We've
Austin.
got kind of our 4 or 5 main brands. They kind of jockey back and forth for that first position of overall outside sales. But yeah, for whatever reason, Miracle is just the clear winner inside.
Now what's this one?
Is that the Bourbon Barrel?
Yes.
That shit is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a big stout guy.
Little
then
booze on
that's
it.
definitely
The bourbon
one
barrel.
for you.
And see, typically, I don't like the bourbon barrels as much because you don't take this coffee as much. It's not as strong as the other ones, but that one is good.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not just saying that because I like you guys, but that one is good for real.
That's probably definitely our most flavorful beer. I mean,
Yeah,
you
that's-
really
see?
you get just an
that
incredible
one is
pack of
good.
flavor with every sip of that beer.
So do you guys find yourself, being as close as you are to the airport, do you get a lot of out-of-town people, or is it mainly locals?
Probably a little bit of both. Well, not so much anymore.
So yeah, definitely less travelers of recent,
right, because of the
but certainly,
pandemic,
Yeah,
but
we
yeah.
do get a good amount. I mean, you see people bringing in, just coming in with their bags and stuff, and actually bringing those into the tap room. And now that we actually have the TexRail access, so you can go straight from the airport and take the train to a block away from us here. So that's definitely been helping as
Yeah,
well.
that makes it super easy. Yeah, I wondered about that because you're so close to DFW, and I do this when we travel. I mean, I'm like, all right, well, we can hit one more on the way. Like, no, there's one right by the airport. We got to get there. Or
We
like
tried
when you
to do
first
that at
arrived.
the Super Bowl, but I don't think we made it. It was
No,
too
yeah,
much
because
of a risk.
we were going to try to hit Funky Buddha in Fort Lauderdale because it wasn't that far because we flew out of Fort Lauderdale this year from Miami, and God, traffic was so bad. I was like, man, I'm afraid if we go there and try to get back to the airport, I'd hate to say it, but we're not going to be able to hit it.
Yeah.
But it's okay because I did 6 brews in one day by myself.
There you go.
Yeah, I Ubered around. And they expensed it, so that's good. Sorry, Cumulus, if you're listening.
It's
But,
research.
yeah.
We do a lot of research ourselves here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Miami was actually a kind of I discovered a couple of breweries in Miami that I was on, like Tripping Animals is there, and they're really good. And there was one called like Wild Creatures or something that was badass. One was called Lincoln's Beard, which is odd. But other than that, like, I don't know. There's certain cities that you hear about, that we're all familiar with in the beer world, and then some that like Miami, I don't think is real well known as a beer city.
I don't know. I don't think
you know.
did all that much.
Well, it's like I mentioned Jean-Jacques about Columbus. I mean, Columbus is.
I haven't heard about that.
It's an extraordinary beer town. I mean, there's if you like IPAs, I think Columbus Brewing Company has won like multiple IPA medals at GABF.
I've heard of them. I just don't know them.
And plus, and they got the U.S. flagship headquarters of BrewDog. They're from Scotland, so they're in Columbus or just outside Columbus. In
that's right. Yeah,
what's that town? I can't remember, but it's kind of.
Well, stuff, when people
I think it's like just north of Lancaster.
Outside their states to necessarily have heard and know of all these people, and you could have a local area with as much growth that there's been in the industry. You could have a new place that has 5 cool new breweries, and they might only be within 5 years old, kind of thing. There's always new good stuff popping
I think Dallas is getting to the point now where you're starting to see the good breweries are starting to survive and do something. I mean, with the pandemic, it's hard to say, but we've seen some go by the wayside in the last year or so, and it's kind of like I don't think anybody was really surprised because we're finally getting to a point. As many breweries as we have, our per capita is still super low.
Yeah.
But the quality of the beer, because shelf space doesn't expand, especially if you're going to package and put it out there. Like if, Kroger's or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's not, new brewery. Well, let us build another shelf for you.
Yeah. I think at least compare with my travels, I think the Metroplex is on par with just about any brewing city in the country. I mean, I think
I agree. I think it's underrated.
Now, you guys biased?
No, for real. Like, because I don't think it was always that case. Like, even a couple years ago, I don't know if it was there.
Yeah, but there's volume and quality, and there's diversity.
There's a lot of good new small guys too, which I feel there's more room to grow there. Where it's hard to become a new big brewery who can capture that.
Yeah,
so
like one of the complaints that a lot of consumers had is that the breweries weren't innovating here. Pretty much everybody was making kind of the same beers.
Hazy IPAs?
Well, this was before hazy IPAs, actually. So everybody was making the same pale ales, the same IPAs, the same stouts. They might throw in some sort of English pale ale of some sort, but they're all kind of maybe or a Kolsch style ale. I mean, everybody was making the same beers, and nothing was. Nobody was getting the hazy IPAs. Nobody was getting the big pastry stouts or the sours or those big fruit slushies that are popular now. But
Matt can't stand those.
Yeah,
it's not my thing.
Yeah, so
anyway, whatever.
But there's at least one brewery making one of these styles.
Yeah,
and then you got someone like Martin House that's basically putting anything and everything in a beer.
Even if you don't like those styles, they're good for the industry because they bring people in that wouldn't be interested.
And
in
then
we got to work on them, get them in here one way.
And then there's still breweries out there brewing classic styles that are world class. I mean, German lagers. GABF and World Beer Cup winners have been out of North Texas for years, like Rahr and Sons, Oak Highlands.
Yeah, Rahr and Sons. I'm a big fan.
I think was it White Rock Ale House? They won. Their Martzen won this year.
Yeah, they've done some stuff. Armadillo won again this year for that honey beer that they do.
Yeah, so there's a lot of quality beers being made in this area. So I'd put North Texas beers up against any city.
I would too, man. And I think it's interesting because. I always wonder about this. Is it because we live here and we drink it every day, which I think is part of the craft beer experience, of like, I want to go to Denver, I want to go to San Diego or, up into the Northeast, like in the Boston area or what have you, because I can't go there every day. It's like my favorite beer ever is Heady Topper. And then I wonder if I drink it every day, like if I just go down to wherever and pick up a 4-pack of it, would I still have that mystique appeal to it?
See, I think so, because you don't get tired of having happy time with your lady friend.
I'm kind of spoiled. I get to drink our beer all the time. I can drink our beer every day, all day long if I want to. So you think that and just think, are we doing that good a job? And then we just, especially my wife and I, anytime we travel, we make sure to go to every brewery in the town that we go and visit. We have been to a lot of terrible, terrible breweries.
And that makes you feel better about what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. And it helps you really realize that, we do have a good product. It's not just me.
We do that with the show. We listen and we go, I think the show's pretty good.
All right, we're doing okay.
And then occasionally you hear some other stuff, you go, I know we're good. I mean, for real.
It's one of those things because we do that too. Me and my girlfriend, whenever we travel. I mean, we were supposed to go to Boston this year, but they got wiped out. We were going to go to all the breweries up there, and I was stoked about that. But usually like once a year, we try to do a different city in the country and go and hit. I mean, we'll try and do 15, 20 breweries, in a 4 or 5 day trip.
And you just never know. It could be a tiny little brewery. It could be fantastic, have fantastic beer, and you have huge breweries that have terrible beer, and it doesn't
I find it all fascinating because I've never been to any breweries, so every week is a new adventure for me. I find it interesting because they're all different. Like I didn't really have any expectations of what a brewery is, but as you go to them, they're all just kind of different. They're all got their own vibe.
And there's some that have really great kitchens where they got they can pair the beer with the food, and it's a good experience.
What do y'all do?
We do have food. We have a food truck that's kind of permanent to semi-permanent called Vaqueros. They were actually on one of the Cooking Channel
It's
shows.
really
Man Fire Food.
You see, I like the coffee style, right?
Oh yeah,
But,
that one's done. That one's.
But they make some of the best brisket you'll ever have, and I think he makes the best taco you'll ever have. And I come from a Hispanic family, and when I can tell you that this guy makes one of the best tacos I've ever had, I mean it's pretty good.
So they here just on the weekends? Or they're
usually here Thursday through Sunday.
So they might be here today.
Yeah, so eventually we're hoping for them to expand the schedule, but I think they're still learning how to be a kind of an everyday operation as opposed to like a pop-up, which is what they kind of were before.
So what's the future for you guys, for Hop and Sting? I mean, you've got this massive facility. You got some contracts now brewing out of here,
yeah,
right?
but it's in the early goings when we had Manhattan Project here, that was a matter of survival, just because we
I forgot about that because Eric was coming over here like every day, and he lives out in Forney.
Oh yeah.
Now what does that mean?
Contract brewing is when you have a brewery that either doesn't have a location or they need extra brewing capacity. They reach out to another brewery and lease out space.
Well, you see, obviously, we got quite a bit of tank space here, so this is what we started with.
Yeah, way too big.
As a brand new startup, I mean, just no way can we sell enough beer to use these tanks, and now we're getting to the point where we need every bit of space that we can get.
So right now, the breweries that are left, I mean, they're kind of up and coming breweries, so we're kind of like a brewery incubator in a way. So it kind of gives brewers an opportunity to decide if this terrible business decision is actually worth it. So they can actually try it out here with much less risk than building their own facility first.
So you guys have Trinity, right? Trinity Forest?
Trinity Forest, Happy Hippie.
That's right, Happy
Toasty
Hippies.
Bros, and I think a couple others.
Yeah, there's a bunch of new ones coming, man. Which is crazy because the pandemic hadn't hit. I mean, there's already like almost 80, I think.
And now there's a can shortage.
Yeah, which is like totally
about that. That was tripping me out.
It's like we get our can suppliers. We were supposed to have we're going from these kind of plastic wrap where there's a label put it on the can to like your more traditional painted can. Right. So that manufacturer was supposed to get us cans in the first week of October, November. Or maybe it was November, but then they were like, oh, maybe January if you pay us in full now.
Damn,
and
really?
then it was like maybe spring next year.
So what do you do when you got no cans?
We go back to our old suppliers, and even then those were saying that, hey, it might be another month lead time on those cans. So we had to reach out to some of our other suppliers that we know about, and luckily we were able to kind of get some. So it's just that you're basically making phone calls. Who has cans? You can get us cans. And
now Matt will tell you one of my favorite things is what's in a name. So how do you come up with? I know Miracle. That's a good name. Mm-hmm. How'd you come up with Frigid Underworld?
Frigid Underworld,
which is your
So that's that's kind of an homage to kind of my old profession. So, if you guys ever watched or listened to David Attenborough, the British nature show host, and he, I always liked listening to how he described certain things. I remember he was doing I don't know if it was Blue Planet or one of the other ones. He described the depths of the ocean as the frigid underworld.
Right.
So I kind of, so our stout is, black and dark and
the giant
thick
squid on it or whatever that
Yeah,
is.
so the frigid underworld, the bottom of the Arctic oceans, is the densest, darkest.
So crazy.
Water, and that's where all the crazy, beautiful creatures live. And
what a life, man!
See,
I mean,
I like asking about beer names because you get great stories.
Oh yeah, they're always like a lot of them do have great stories behind it. I mean, I know some breweries and some beers even. You're just like, we used to have a whiteboard where you'd walk in and just write down random names of what you would think, and like, what's this supposed to be? I don't know.
We've had that whiteboard. I've not seen very good names of beers.
What's your favorite beer name?
Well, our whiteboard came up with Aluminum Cowboy.
Yeah, which is a heck of a name for the beer, I think. But.
And that makes sense, yeah, too, because
Did
the
Fire
canvas.
Engine Red come from the board?
What's that?
Did Fire Engine Red come from the board?
That might have.
That one's a good name.
Where'd Hop to Be Squared came from? Because I always think of like the Huey Lewis Hip to Be Square American
John,
Psycho tie-in.
So John and I both are big Huey Lewis in the News fans.
There you go.
So that was an easy. We wanted to name a beer after a Huey Lewis song, and Northeast Texas IPA was named after a country music song by Willis Allen Ramsey. Also made popular by the recently late Jerry Jeff Walker.
Yeah.
And then Wiser Time is a kind of a play on an old Black Crow song. And
crazy.
Yeah, so we kind of they're different things.
It's awesome.
Usually it's about we pay homage to like either songs we like or maybe movie quotes or something.
Now, I see a lot of these Black is Beautiful bottles around.
Mm-hmm.
You did one or you still have it?
We did one, and we still have some that we're selling. So
just in the bombers?
So that was
we got
actually.
the bottle kitted.
So the gentleman behind us, behind the bar, Ross.
Ross is my buddy. That's my boy.
Yeah, so he's
He been hooking me up all day. I just look at him and he shows up.
So he really asked us to if we can be a part of that, and we thought it was a no-brainer, and but we said you got to brew the beer for us.
Ross brewed the beer?
Yeah, Ross brewed the beer along with a gal who owns a up-and-coming brewery here in town. So
okay, see, this is fascinating.
So you might have to come down. Ross has already done one tasting where he has collected different Black is Beautiful versions from all over the country.
See, I had one at Odd
we've had
News
one
last
tasting,
night,
and
so I'm
we're having
interested
another one
for
in a
last
week.
week. How is that different than Frigid Underworld?
it's got a blend of Caribbean fruits, dried fruits, soaked in Jamaican rum.
Huh.
It's very different. I think we still got a little on tap. If you want to try some?
Yeah, I'll try because it's interesting.
You're going to try a coffee stout?
I like stouts. I mean, I drink stouts all the time. But yeah, I mean, I've had a bunch of the Black is Beautiful versions, and I thought that was a cool concept of having the base, and then however you want to tweak it from the base.
Yeah. What's the base?
So the brewery that started it, Weather Souls, their head brewer came up with the recipe, and he basically put that recipe out to the public and said, hey, if you guys want to join us, take this recipe, put your spin on it. And here's the label design. So we'll do all that for you. Just give 100% of the proceeds to minority-based charities, especially those that kind of center around social justice and all that.
So you got a base recipe to follow, sort of like a spaghetti sauce, and then you can do whatever you want to.
Yeah. So our twist was to take I think we did raisins, dates, currants.
I'm
some
sorry.
other fruits.
It's a Caribbean.
What the hell is a current?
I don't know.
It's like a cherry or something.
See, let me tell y'all something as journalists.
Black currant's like a licorice flavor.
As journalists, they tell you, there's no stupid question, there's no dumb question. And see, I was feeling like, I feel kind of dumb. I don't know what a current is.
I believe black
but then
currant
you,
is
the
not-
brewer,
isn't that the licorice
doesn't know what a current is.
It's kind of like a berry. It looks like a berry.
Yes, I thought it was like a cherry type thing.
Yeah, this is
there's red and black.
Yeah, but there's like black currants. There's red currants. I think we had red currants. But it kind of gives an interesting kind of a character to it.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, but
it's really interesting to do a tasting of that because we had, everybody took that base version and then made their own. So I think we tried 30 of them.
Wow, really? And you're doing it
If I
again?
can remember that correctly.
Do you know what, like when you're doing it? Do you have a date yet?
It does taste kind of berry filled.
Ross, when you doing the tasting? When's the Black is Beautiful tasting? November 14th.
Is that a public thing where public can come?
Can Matt come?
By invitation only, but...
okay, all right. I'll edit this out of the podcast.
No, it's all right. If we like you,
got you.
we'll let
I
you
got
in
you.
kind of thing. It's no problem.
All right, there you go, yeah.
So important
I'm
black
good
men
right
should
now.
be able to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll do another Scorpion. Why not? God. It's the problem with doing these things at breweries. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have one today.
Well, see, that's why I started with
And
some
then it turns
sparkling
into
water.
two.
Welcome to our lives.
Just
yeah.
make sure you
Yeah.
have a big lunch before you come.
And then like 8 beers later, you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll take a break. And
Well, see,
then,
I tell you, see, they've now figured out how to get me. They just give me all this stuff to sample, and I end up tasting, 8 different things.
it's really good.
Yeah.
And so, but it's all, as long as it's not a lager, it's all interesting to me. But that's just me. I'm anti-lager.
I guarantee you there's lagers you like. You just don't know.
Okay, let me ask you this.
But that's why our menu.
Pantalones, that's a lager, right? See, I like Roaring Sons, whatever.
Yeah, because like a lot of the times with the lagers, like they can throw, all kinds of this. If you wanted to, you could throw stuff in there, and like you were talking about.
Well,
like
we do a kind of a twist on ours. We call it the Vaquero. We take our aluminum cowboy, add some lime juice, and then we rim the top of the glass with some tahini.
What is that?
It's like kind of a spicy salt.
You don't know what tahini is?
It's that red salt stuff that you get sometimes on a margarita or whatever.
Oh, okay. See, if you had said
Yeah.
red salt stuff,
Red sauce.
I don't know,
Red
I know
salt
what
stuff,
it was.
Yeah, see, I think that
It's damn.
like lagers. I mean, obviously, like you were talking. I mean, you can, if you put something in a lager and
You gonna taste it.
Yeah, the flavor comes through so much
Absolutely.
easier, And that's why flaws are so easy. Like we used to literally, like I've told you this before. Like if you want to learn about flaws in beer, the easiest way to do it is just go get some, drop it into your typical lager, and you'll pick
Yeah.
it up immediately because you can't hide it. It's impossible.
Exactly.
That Black is Beautiful is a very interesting flavor. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's very different, though.
So
Very
the
interesting.
idea behind it was inspired by a Caribbean black cake. It's kind of like a fruit cake in a way,
Yeah.
but it's something that is eaten between, I guess, it's not all the time, but oftentimes between conflicting families, and it kind of brings those families together.
Oh, so I'm mad at you, you mad at me, so let's eat up some black cake.
Which is kind of
Symbolism in
yeah, which kind of works for our current times. That there's a lot of people that have disagreements that
Right.
need an excuse to come together
Right.
and actually be friendly and enjoy each other's company.
Dude.
And it's a nice sentiment. Hopefully it takes off.
I need to go Molotov cocktail my ex-wife's house with a few of those.
Whoa!
What?
Leave that alone.
What? It brings you together, you said. What's wrong with that? So what if our house burns down? Should
Okay,
I
I'm
edit
gonna
that
leave that
out?
alone.
All right, guys, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for having us in, and thanks for sitting down with us. And again, it's Hop and Sting here in the downtown Grapevine area. They're brewing some really, really good beer, including this. I mean, this. What is the name of this? Scorpion?
Scorpion
Curse of the Seven Scorpions.
Curse of the Seven Scorpions.
Yeah, who came up with that name?
So that's a combination of me and our graphic designer Paul. So Paul, he did all the artwork for all of our cans, and so I wanted to use so we have Reaper chilies, Scorpion chilies, and 7-Pot Katie's. So I wanted to utilize all those, and I think I came up with it might have been like the Death and the Seven Scorpions or something like that, and then he came up with Curse of the Seven Scorpions, and we're like, that's
Good
better.
name, man, and a damn good beer. All your beers are good. You
Thank
brew
you.
good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Great facility. Appreciate you sitting down with us.
I appreciate you guys coming in.
Yeah.
This is one of those breweries that's like a family-friendly brewery. You know what I mean? Like you can take your kids here, you can have a good conversation. Outside of that, it's interesting because we were talking about this earlier. This is Halloween weekend. It's also daylight savings time weekend.
Right.
Which means at 2 a.m. on Saturday night, technically Sunday morning, the clocks fall back an hour. You a fan or no?
I hate daylight savings.
So you hate that we change, or you like right now and you hate what we'll do for 4 months?
I hate what we'll do for 4 months.
Okay, I'm with you.
And I hate where we're at right now. I like it when it's just regular time. Like, I don't think we should ever change.
Yeah, like why not just have this be the time all the time?
And I don't even like
Where
this.
it stays light an hour, like who
Right.
gives it? Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, I just hate it, man. I hate that it's pitch black at
At
5:30.
yeah. Dude,
Man, I hate it.
when I was living in Birmingham, because Alabama is so close to the Eastern time zone, I mean, it's the Eastern time zone was like on the border of Alabama, Georgia.
Right.
It got dark at the shortest time periods of the year in December. It would get dark at 4:30. In the after 4:30, man.
I can't stand
I was
that,
like,
bro.
why is this a thing? This is so dumb. And I get it if it's the 1800s, or hell, you know what? I get it if it's the 1900s. and it's 1937, and me and you, hey man,
sonny.
we got to go row this corn and make sure we have enough light to shuck it.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's 2020. We don't need extra light in the morning or extra light at night.
Just corn. We just go to the store and buy
I don't
it.
care what it is. I don't care if it's whichever. Pick one and live with it. Pick either it gets dark at 5:30 or it gets dark at whenever. Pick one and that's our time.
I've almost thought about moving to Arizona just because of this.
Yeah, and I think that's the only state that Indiana used to, but they don't anymore.
But I've considered it. My brother's in Arizona. It's hot
Like, why
there.
is this, like, just pick a damn time. Pick it.
Yeah.
Pick it.
Drives me nuts. I don't like it.
And everybody will tell you that they would take the time where it's still light outside in the evenings because we like that. We like to sit on patios. We like to hang out outside. Just make that the damn time.
Yeah, we like to drink, coffee stouts.
Whatever it is. You know, the weather can change. It doesn't mean the time has to. Now, I will tell you, Halloween this year is going to be interesting. A lot of places are doing different things. Now, if you're listening to this on a Friday, yes, we will be at Oak Islands Brewery on Friday, October 30th, doing a live show out there. We will be doing it on YouTube Live as well, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube at Jam Session Podcast on YouTube. They are also doing a trunk or treat, where they're having a bunch of parents come out and you fill your trunk with candy and the little kids can go around to all the cars in the parking lot and get candy from the cars.
How about that?
You know, and this is going to be a really interesting Halloween because of social distancing.
Right.
We will not be at home on Saturday, so I don't think we will have open, you know, where you have the light on, you put the candy out and all that in our neighborhood. We didn't do it last year. I don't know if I've ever participated in candy handing out.
What do you mean candy handing out?
You know, where they come to your house. Like, do you guys do that? Where you let kids come to, like on Halloween, on Saturday night? Are you going to be there and pass out candy?
Dude, I'm such a seven-letter cuss word about that. I'm
an
just
asshole.
Like,
So you're an asshole about Halloween.
I'm just like, hey, man.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
So you never do it?
No.
Like, my mom and dad will do it. Well, maybe not
Now,
this year.
Lovely Lorraine will buy some stuff, but I'm like, quit ringing my doorbell.
See, my problem is I really enjoy Halloween because I like to dress up.
I was going to say, do you scare them?
I tried to. Like, one year I wanted to put on a fanny pack and sunglasses and take pictures and act like I'm a creeper pedophile guy.
No, that's not a good.
Yeah, and the girl I was with was like, you cannot do that. I was like, really? I was like, how scary is that, though? Like, to me, that would be like the scariest thing ever. As a parent or a kid, if you come to the house and the guy's doing that, that would be scarier than looking like a Frankenstein or whatever. Like, I take fear and scare to a different level.
Well, you like that.
Yeah, because I always think, like, what's the scariest thing you can think of? And a lot of like a lot of typical generic Halloween stuff to me is not scary, like werewolves and vampires and all that. That's not scary. Scary to me is being in a prison cell and some dude's pinning you down trying to get you. That's
that
scary.
Would be scary.
Oh, are we on YouTube Live right now?
I don't know.
Oh no, you're just recording a YouTube video.
I couldn't figure out how to do it. I was trying to do it.
Jacques tries to go YouTube Live right now and just randomly decides to hit record, and it's a YouTube video that you were recording.
Well, you know, hey, the effort was there.
Do you have a go-to candy?
I mean, let's keep it real, man. I'm all about the Reese's peanut butter cup. Can I tell you my most? Let me see. How should I describe?
Do you like Reese's Pieces?
I can take them or leave them.
All right, I have a beer. I had a beer last night that I think you will enjoy.
I don't know if I like peanut butter beer.
See,
if you're going there.
No, Turning Point, which is a brewery up in Bedford, they just released a beer called Alien Food.
Right.
And they brewed it with peanut butter cups and Reese's
Really?
Pieces.
When are we going to Turning Point?
You know what? I got to hit up JP, and maybe we'll. Turning Point is the highest rated brewery, I believe, still in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Is that right?
Yeah, they do. Turning Point's on an elite level, much like, you know, guys that we talk to. They're brewing a lot of really good beer. But I will tell you this, because I'm right there with you. My favorite candy is Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Reese's Peanut Butter, like the Ghost, like the white chocolate-covered stuff. The Reese's Pieces I love. And I will tell you, because I used to think about this when I was doing Halloween as a kid, I would say, okay, because you always have these houses. There's 3 different houses, right?
Right.
There's 3 different houses. There's one of the three houses is this. The house that gives you candy where they, hey, knock, 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 trick or treat. Oh, happy Halloween, and whatever. And you reach into the bowl and you grab whatever. The second house is the one where you go, what the fuck is this? Like, really? Like apples? Like floss?
Yeah.
Toothbrushes? What is this? The third house
is full-size candy bars.
The elite house.
Yes.
The elite houses, and you guys know.
You know, the elite houses,
elite house.
You show up, you find out it's the elite house, and then you go, okay, let's go back in 10 minutes. You wear my mask, I'll wear yours.
Yeah.
We'll act like we're different people.
And you're like, oh my God, this is a full 8-inch Butterfinger.
Right. And now I'm typically house number one.
Yeah, I'm house number one
when
for
the
sure.
lovely rain buys something to pass out. But, you know, my most indulgent thing, and I was proud of myself that I let this last, I don't know, it's probably lasts about 2.5, 3 months, which is great for me, if you know me, as a former fat guy. Dude, I went to Sam's, and I wasn't looking for this because I stay away from certain aisles in Sam's.
Yeah.
They had Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Okay, we've seen those, no big deal. They had the one big fat one. You know, the one that's like this big.
It's like 3 in 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
so
yeah.
they had them and they were selling them in bulk because it's Sam's. And it was like $14 for like 20 of them. But they were, you know, they're like this big.
Just realized.
So, dude, I bought them and I said, why did I do this? This is a sign of a sickness. And then I stuck them in the freezer in the garage. And I would get them once a week, frozen.
The giant one?
The giant one.
Jesus.
And it was so gluttony. But man, it was good.
Did you dress up when you were a kid for Halloween? When you were younger? What'd you go? What was your favorite one?
I can't say I was, you know, I'm not a guy who even then put a lot of thought into it. It was whatever, you know.
So
like
you're not
when
me.
when I say we got one, it's like you went to the grocery store. Give me that one. It wasn't like I can't even remember like when I put any effort into.
That's interesting because I put a lot of effort.
Oh, shocking! Matt puts effort
Yeah,
into
like last year, a couple years ago, I went as Joker,
I
which is
remember
great.
that one. That was your first year on the show.
Yeah, that was good. And then last year, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what I did last year, but this year I'm going as Hetty Topper, which is my favorite beer. So
that should be pretty good.
Yeah, the emblem on the beer can. So I bought some hops to weave in my hair, and so I'm gonna have like hops coming out of my head, and then he has like a little rouge on his face, and he has a bow tie. So I got the bow tie with the button-up shirt.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, so I got that, and it's the hops got to sell it. It's all about the hops exploding out of your head and like coming up, and so I bought some hair. I was this is how deep I go. I was trying to figure out how do I make it look where the hops, like where my hair will hold and be, you know, like up.
See,
and so,
I'm not putting that much time and effort into it.
Dude, I go online and I find out a hair gel paste for mohawks, like that for real hold. And the couple I found, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to hold that. Like one was like, you can even jump in a pool. I was like, no, I want it to wash out. But I found some good paste, so I'm going to work on that on Saturday because, you know, we're here at Hoppenstein, but one of the podcasts we did about a month ago, Celestial Beer Works, and we're good friends with the people that run that, Matt and Molly, who own and operate Celestial Beer Works, is having their second anniversary party on Halloween. And so we're going to go up there, and they're encouraging everybody to dress up. And so I was like, all right, we're going to a brewery for Halloween. I got to dress as a beer guy. I'm going to do Hetty Topper.
I was going to dress as a beer salesman.
All right, so this a hoodie,
pretty much
a hoodie and a hat,
pretty much.
That would actually be awesome. Now, my lady friend is going as Lola from Space Jam, the movie.
Really?
And the reason why is because Celestial made a beer called Welcome to the Space Jam, which is a peanut butter jelly beer that they did, Berliner Weiss. It's awesome. It's actually really, really good. And so she's going to go as a Space Jam character for that beer and carry around, like she's got a couple of cans. We're going to tape them to her, I guess, or whatever. But she bought a Space Jam top and like the bunny ears, and because Lola is Bugs Bunny's girlfriend.
Right.
And I got to I don't remember this from the movie. Man, you realize how slutty cartoon animated characters are?
I'm not going there.
This is a rabbit
that likes to get.
You can see her moose, like her camel.
Whoa! No.
Her knuckle. You can see it in the cartoon. I'm like, what is this?
I don't want to see any cartoon.
It's like Jessica Rabbit, though. Am I right?
She was
Come on. Right? She was. Like Jessica Rabbit and Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the hottest cartoon of all time. Unless you're into that weird anime porn stuff, which...
Jose Keegan, can y'all believe we're talking about this?
No, but I'm telling you, Jessica Rabbit, hands down, has got to be the hottest animated character of all time.
Okay, I'm just co-signing on that. I'm not going deep into hot animated characters.
Oh, no, we got to get into this. So know like how Disney used to do that stuff, right, on purpose?
No.
Yeah, like, so apparently they did a thing where she opens her legs at one point as an ode to like Basic Instinct. Remember that Sharon Stone scene? Yeah, and then so, there's like Lion King, they spelled sex out of the stars, and then the original cover of Little Mermaid had a giant dildo on it.
Dude!
It did! It did. You can Google this and look it up. I am not BSing you, man. I'm telling you the truth.
I'm not doing it. Y'all do that.
There's a baby here.
I don't want my Google history out there like that.
There's a baby here. I said dildo, and that little baby looked right at me. I feel bad. Not really. Look, look. All right. Yeah. It's not jam session after dark.
No,
it's going to be one day.
It's jam session in the middle of the afternoon.
You know what? Jam session after dark. We're going to get into all these random theories I have, and it'll be one of the greatest podcasts of all time. It will be. It'll be fantastic.
5,000 downloads. It'll be the one that sets us off.
But enjoy Halloween this weekend. If you guys are dressing up, I'd love to see your pictures because I like as an actor, as a theater guy, I love the Halloween dress up. Right. The makeup and all that. I'll tell you this, my buddy Juan, Juan, this is about, God, it might have been 4 years ago now. We're at Deep Ellum Brewery. They had a Halloween costume contest. The winner gets free beer for a year.
That's a lot of beer now.
Juan shows up, and Hamilton the musical had just come out. Juan shows up dressed as Hamilton. Nobody knew who he was on the costume. So, like, I went as AIDS Darth Maul, and so, like, if Darth Maul got AIDS, like, what he would look like. So I went as that. Whatever. Like, you guys are going to judge me, like, yeah, I can't believe that. Again, I'm trying to think of really creative, different things to do, generally speaking, for Halloween. So Juan shows up, and you go on the stage, and the guy goes, oh, you're so-and-so, and he goes, what are you supposed to be? And I told him, he just looked at me and goes, okay, I'm not one, whatever. Juan's right behind me. Juan goes on stage and the DJ goes, you're supposed to be like a colonial American. Juan and only Juan would do this. Juan looks at him and goes, no, grabs the microphone out of the guy's hand and goes, I'm Hamilton from the musical Hamilton, and just starts this rap from Hamilton. And is so and there must have been a couple hundred people there. The whole crowd is talking and buzzing and just shuts up and looks at this dude rapping on stage and just goes ballistic. Goes insane for him.
Right.
And sure enough, it goes down to, all right, here are our top 5 audience reaction people. And I've never, everybody was chanting, Hamilton, Hamilton. It was insane. So Juan wins free beer for a year. Not because of his costume, but because he grabbed the mic. He did a performance. Which, by the way, and I'll let people know about this, Juan's trying to get me to do The Odd Couple with him at Garland Civic Theater.
You should do it. You got free time now.
Yeah, I think I will. And we know each other well enough where we could do a really good job of that, and it'd be a theatrical performance where I'd be playing a character, Felix, Oscar, for Odd Couple, for those of you that know. You could come out and see it.
True that.
But there you go. A little fun there. Kind of a trip around the block. But enjoy your daylight savings time and enjoy Halloween.
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Happy to tell you about one of our other very good sponsors, Beer Geeks Shop in Rockwall. Beer Geeks is in downtown Rockwall. They have over 400 beers available for you across the world. Everything is available in singles. It is a local, family-owned place in downtown Rockwall, right on the square there. Great place. I buy a lot of beer there. I know Jacques has as well. Jason and Deidre, 2 of the best people you'll ever meet, man. They know everything about beer. One of those things you can go, hey, I've heard the guys talking about various beers on the show. I can't remember the names of them. Deidre will look at you and go, I got you. So please support them. They support us. They're big fans of what we do here on Jam Session. I'm big fans of theirs. You will be as well. And I'm going to tell you this right now. As a beer lover, as a craft beer guy, there are very few places in DFW where you can go and get beers in singles. And you don't know this beer, but I'm going to tell you this right now because I saw this on their Instagram today. They just got Black Ops. Brooklyn Brewery's Black Ops. For those of you in the beer community, your ears just perked up. Maybe you just saw a little something in your pants rise away. I get it. So go check them out. It's Beer Geek Shop in downtown Rockwall, and say hello to Jason and Deidre. We appreciate their support. But as we continue with you here, the Cowboys have a game on Sunday night. They did not get flexed out of it. Sunday night, the Cowboys, the Eagles in Philadelphia. I got to tell you, man, I don't know if I'll pick the Cowboys to win again this year. At some point I might. But when I look at this Cowboys defense,
right,
I know it's not any good. Miles Sanders, who, as far as what we can look at right now, this is being recorded on a Thursday, has not practiced this week.
That's a positive.
Boston Scott is their backup. Boston Scott is a type of dude. He's like a Darren Sproles type character, a small little diminutive dude who can do a lot of everything. But Boston Scott can make it happen. They did get Dallas Goedert back at practice this week.
Ooh, that's a bad move.
Yeah, and so with that, with Carson Wentz, I don't even care who their receivers are. Show me how in the world the Dallas Cowboys stop what Philadelphia does offensively.
They can't. They won't. And, I've been pretty consistent about this, man. This is a bad team. I thought they were a bad team 3 weeks into the season. They proved that they were a bad team. So when you're looking at the game, man, it's all about, and I had the debate last week with a couple of friends of mine, but it's all about, check this out now, why will the Cowboys not turn the ball over 2.5 times a game?
With Ben DiNucci as your quarterback.
Which they've been doing. Why will they be able to stop Philadelphia when they ain't stopped nobody? And then, even if Zach Martin is back with Ben DiNucci as quarterback, and last I checked, Cam Irvin still at left tackle, why will they succeed on offense? And I can't give you any positive answers to any of that, which is why I think they will fall behind early, which is what they do every single week, it seems.
Like, you are what you are at some point, right?
Dude, 7
Have
games
we reached that point? To me, we have.
They're not a good team.
You're halfway through the season. You are what you are.
And even bigger than that, man, they don't play with no confidence. You know what I'm saying? So you don't play with any confidence. You're a bad team. You don't believe in the defensive system. The coaches don't really believe in you. So if we keep it real, which is the only way I know how to do it, then it shouldn't surprise anybody that I think they're going to have a hard time being competitive.
I agree. I think this is a bad matchup for Dallas. I think Ben DiNucci's first career start against a team that has some of the players that the Eagles have on their front four, that can do some things and get in your face. I hate this matchup for Dallas right now. I don't know if I would like it with Andy Dalton, but Ben DiNucci, you're asking him, hey, man, you got a makeshift offensive line. And I don't know if you know this, and maybe we'll get into the whispers, but I'm assuming Zach Martin has got to be one of your tackles, or no? Are they going to play him at guard?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then you're going to, because we've seen that before where they bumped him out to tackle, because to me, if Steele and Cam Irving are your tackles, you got a problem.
Yeah, I mean, they got a couple different ways they could go, and I don't know which way they're going yet. They could go with Zach, Biadasz, and, Connor Williams at guard. They could go with guard with, because Joe Looney might be back. They could go to guard with Williams, Biadasz, and Looney at right guard.
Right, and then bump
Zach Williams at
Zach Martin.
Zach Martin at right tackle.
That makes sense to me.
But
because
then
I feel
who's
like
your left tackle? Is it Cam Irvin? You bench Steele? Neither one of those is a good option for left tackle.
And especially for a kid making his first career start, you got to think there's going to be a lot of quick things that are happening. They're going to do a lot of those bullshit plays that we saw last week where you're trying to figure out how do we give 3-step drops, get the ball out of your hand really quick so that you negate the pressure. A lot of those wide receiver bubble screens and stuff like that, dumps, checks down, slants.
But see, the problem with that is that makes sense. Okay, let's protect the kid. Let's get the ball out of his hand quick. The problem with that is anytime you do that, the safeties come up,
Yep.
the linebackers come up, the corners come up, and everything gets congested, tighter, harder to throw. Where the reality is, if they really wanted to win the game, they should come out, fake that thing, go deep.
Now,
Throw
one
that
thing-
thing up there and make them say, we throwing that thing deep, you go defend it.
One thing about DiNucci is he is way more mobile than Andy Dalton ever hoped to be.
Yeah, he is.
And I'll be curious to see if they do anything with his mobility. Now, that being said, it's not like they did with Dak. So maybe you have the options for some more bootlegs and things of that nature, but they didn't do a lot of that with Dak at times. I don't know when I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win. I'm not picking them to win this week. I think the Eagles are going to smoke their ass. Like, I had Boston Scott on my fantasy team for a while, and I wish I had kept him because Miles Sanders got hurt, and Boston Scott came in last week and had a nice game.
Right.
You know, yeah, they like to do the two tight end thing. Ertz is on the IR for those that don't know, but it's going to be Goddard and Richard Rodgers. Remember him from the Packers for a while. Richard Rodgers is our other tight end. I'm going to tell you this. I picked up Richard Rodgers in fantasy, and I'm starting him because they're playing the Cowboys. I think this
you
is
did that last week, man.
I did, and guess what? It worked. This is a shit defense. It's a shit team, and I think the Cowboys are going to lose this game. You know what? I think they're going to score a touchdown this week. I'm going to give them a touchdown. I'm going to go Eagles win this thing 27-10.
All right. I've got the Eagles winning 31-6. I think it's just a hard.
Damn, so not a touchdown again.
It's just a hard road for them. It's a rookie quarterback. They still got a good defensive line. The Cowboys' defense is shady. They're not playing with any confidence. They're not going to have any confidence with DiNucci playing quarterback. I think it's just going to be tough for them. And so, as you listen to us right here on the Jam Session Podcast, I think it's Eagles in a runaway in a rout, 31-6. And, it's okay for the Cowboys to prove me wrong. I just don't think they will.
And we wrap you up here this week with that information you will not see, hear, or read anywhere else, but right here on Jam Session. Our Cowboys insider with over 25 years of inside information with the Dallas Cowboys, Jean-Jacques Taylor, brings you Whispers from the Star.
Dude, I got to bring up a name from the past. It feels like way back in the past. You know, I found out there was just a smidgen. I'm not trying to tell you there was a big war. Just a smidgen of consternation between the front office and the scouting department on one player in the last couple of weeks.
Really?
David Irving. Really, dude?
Who signed with the Raiders?
Yeah. Here's why there was some consternation. Some folks in the scouting department, that would be Will McClay's territory. I'm not saying Will McClay said anything, but there's some folks in the scouting department who are banging a drum for David Irving. You know David Irving, 12 sacks in his first 25 games. That spectacular performance against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
David Irving is everything and anything, 6'7", 295 when he's in shape, that you want for a defensive tackle. And there were folks in the Cowboys front office who said, dog, if he coming back, why not here? And the answer was, because we can't trust him, we don't like him.
Seems fair. I would agree.
If y'all remember, David Irving kicked out of the league for the last couple of years, smoking weed, failed a bunch of tests, decided he wanted to devote his life to smoking weed. Now that weed is, decriminalized, I believe is the best word to say.
Yeah, now you can smoke all you want.
He got reinstated, and he's playing for who? Rod Marinelli and the Raiders in Vegas. I don't know how that's going to work out. But I do know that folks in the Cowboys wanted to take a good, hard, long look at David Irving. And the man with the half glasses, Stephen Jones, said, nah, fam, we good. And that, like I said, caused a tad of consternation. Why? He's the guy they've been trying to find for the last 5 years. They've been trying to find David Irving. Like they thought it was Tyrone Crawford, but it wasn't. Then they thought it was Malik Collins, but it wasn't. Then they thought it was Jared McCoy, but it wasn't. But David Irving, the guy who they just go, everything and anything we want. They write songs about him. They come up and pen lyrics about David Irving and the things he could do if he could focus. But of course, the reason he's not in Dallas is one, who would sign in Dallas when you go to Vegas and have more fun? But secondly, the Cowboys, it never got past the conversation stage because apparently Stephen Jones was just like, nah, bruh, it's just not going to work. He's not what we want around here. He was a headache when we had him. It's just not going to work. We understand his talent level, but at some point, it has to be more about talent. Now, we all say it's got to be more about talent. And then we go, really? Y'all 2-7. Maybe it needs to be about talent. In doing some more research, Matt, I've come across a couple names. Like, I'm convinced now, and I talked to some people with the Cowboys this week, there's going to be change this year. Now, a lot of y'all, hashtag fire Mike Nolan, want Mike Nolan gone.
Me.
Okay? I can't tell you right now with any degree of certainty that he's going to be gone. Now, Matt's looking at me like, what the hell?
You mean at the end of the year? I mean, like, I don't expect right now.
No, at the end of the year, I can't say. I mean, that's Mike McCarthy's boy.
Jesus.
Maybe he fires him. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe the Cowboys step to him and say, yo, dog, somebody got to pay the price for this bad season. We're not firing Kellen Moore, so it's got to be Mike Nolan. That being said, Matt, two cats definitely on the hot seat. No questions asked. Who might not be here. I want to know if you know their names. Who is your secondary coach, Matt?
Don't know. It's not Chris Richard.
It's Maurice Linguist.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
he coaches safeties and slots.
Yeah, you can get rid of him right now.
Al Harris coaches corners.
Right, yeah.
Have you been impressed with anything coming out of the secondary?
No.
They ain't had no interceptions. They've blown a lot of coverages. They couldn't figure out how to get whatever the best of Darryl Worley was before they cut him. They couldn't figure out how to get that. And so there's a lot of question about whether those two guys will be back. And that leads me to this, man. Mike McCarthy was in a position to make a lot of hires. Mike Nolan was in position to hire a lot of assistants. We're talking about a team ready to win right effing now. Not a couple years from now. They hired Mike McCarthy to do what? Win right effing now. He went out and hired Maurice Linguist, who spent the last 2 years, I believe, with the Texas A&M Aggies. Never coached in the NFL. Now, at some point, it got to be your first job, right? At some point, Mike McCarthy had never coached in the NFL. Somebody hired him.
Right.
When you're trying to win right now, you don't really need dudes who need an adjustment to the NFL.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Even the best coaches, dude, it's an adjustment to the NFL. You just have to get used to it. You have to grow in it a little bit. On some staffs, that's cool. On a staff ready to win right now with a bunch of young corners, I was told that wasn't really the best move with hindsight. All right? So, don't be surprised if your boy Linguist gets popped at the end of the year.
How exciting.
Don't be surprised if the quarterback's coach, one Al Washington, who played several years in Green Bay for McCarthy.
Al Harris.
Yeah. If he gets popped in the offseason, and here's why. He ain't really coached nobody. He was a defensive assistant in Kansas City. He got popped in 2018. He was out of the league in 2019.
Yeah, Al Harris, isn't he the guy that, remember the playoff overtime game in the snow between him and Seattle, and Hasselbeck goes, we're going to win the game. We want the ball, and he threw a pick, and Al Harris returned it for a touchdown.
There you go.
Isn't that him?
That's him.
Yeah.
He was a good player in the league. That don't mean he's a good coach. When you look at all the busted assignments, when you look at all the wandering eyes looking in the backfield, when you look at all the guys who ain't handling their business in the secondary, it's easy to see that if there's going to be change, who would be surprised if it comes from the Cowboys secondary? Because you're talking about two cats who may be wonderful dudes who have accomplished nothing as NFL coaches.
Amazing.
Why would you entrust a young secondary, Chido Awuzie, Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, Xavier Woods? Why would you entrust that secondary to a couple of cats who ain't never peed a drop as coaches? That's a question Mike McCarthy got to answer, and either him or Mike Nolan might end up having to pay with for their job.
Good.
Now, let's close it out with one Ben DiNucci. Now, there's not a lot to say about Ben DiNucci. Why? Because he's a 7th-round pick from James Madison who ain't never played. All right? Completed his first pass for 32 yards. Let me tell you why that's a positive, Matt. It's a positive because at least he pushed the ball down the field just a little bit. I think the best thing the Cowboys can do is push the ball down the field against Philadelphia. Try to get some pass protection and just throw it up there just to show we will attack. Because I'm telling you, if you spend the game going underneath, there's going to be some sad singing, some slow walking off the field at the end of the game. Now, I will say this about DiNucci. You've heard Zeke Elliott talk about it this year. He said he got a little something to him. When I was talking to people about DiNucci this week, I heard he's got that point guard mentality, that field general mentality. He's a guy who ain't afraid of the moment. Now, we'll see. Because maybe he's talking a good game and his nuts shrivel up when the lights come on. We don't know until the lights come on. That being said, they like him. Now, he's got some technical issues. All right, he's got some flaws in his game. He's not the most technically proficient quarterback, but that's why they drafted him, because he's a young guy with potential. He wasn't supposed to be playing this year. It's supposed to be all about Dak and all about Andy Dalton. DiNucci is here. If you talk to people within the Cowboys, they say he won't be afraid of the moment. Only time will tell, but let's see if that field general point guard mentality that they talk about comes out in his first game against the Philadelphia Eagles on national TV. And that, my friends, is another wonderful, fact-filled, reported edition of Jam Sessions Whispers from the Start. That news you can't see here, we get anywhere but Jam Session Fridays, whenever you listen to this wonderful podcast.
Always good stuff. Hey, man, thanks to Hop and Sting for having us out today. Good chat with those boys. And again, they are in downtown Grapevine right off the square. Come check them out. They're doing some good stuff. Thanks to all of you for listening to the Jam Session podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Jam Session Cast. We're also available on our YouTube channel. Subscribe today by searching Jam Session Podcast. And keep in mind, on Fridays, we do a live show at Oak Highlands Brewery in the Lake Highlands area off of 635 and Miller in Dallas/Garland. It is Oak Highlands Brewery. We will be live on YouTube beginning at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, so make sure you join us for that. You can find us on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. Our director of creative content is Brian Hart. Thanks to Purple Elephant Music for the music you hear at the beginning and end of each episode. He is the radio, TV, and podcast star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor. I'm just a guy, Matt McLaren. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review the podcast, and we'll catch you next time right here on Jam Session, available everywhere you listen to podcasts.